Called to order the March 7th, 2017 Board of Commissioner meeting. Please silence cell phones, pagers, and other electronic communication devices. And if you need agendas, they're located at the back of the chambers on the bookshelves back there. First, we'll have a moment of silence, then Pledge of Allegiance led by Nick Stroot, our HR Director, please.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Next, we'll have the review and approval of the agenda, please. Is there a motion?
Move to approve.
Moved by LaCroix. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Buskerud. Any discussion? All in favor say aye. Oops, roll call.
Buskerud,
Aye.
Farabee,
Yes.
LaCroix,
Aye.
Adcock.
Aye. Motion carries. First, we'll have Ms. Holly with the consent agenda.
Good morning, Commissioners. Holly Hennies, Commission Office Manager. For public notice, the Board of Commissioners uses a consent agenda to act on non-controversial and routine items. The consent agenda is acted upon by one motion and vote of the board. Items may be removed from the consent agenda and placed on the regular agenda at the request of a board member or a citizen. Today's consent agenda contains the following items 5 through 13. Number 5 is the approval of the minutes of the regular meeting of February 21st, 2017. Number 6 is to schedule a public hearing at 9:15 a.m. on March 21st, 2017 for Budget Supplement SP 17-004 for a general fund search and rescue budget. Number 7 is to appoint Mr. Lindell Peterson as Pennington County's representative to serve on the Board of Commissioners of the Mitchell Rapid City Regional Rail Authority and authorize the reimbursement of expenses incurred. Number 8 is to appoint Ms. Paulette Schenk as the county liaison to the Rapid City Public Library Board of Trustees. Number 9 is to reappoint Mr. Denny Mann, representing Rapid City, to the Weed and Pest Board for a 3-year term. Number 10 is to approve the chairman's signature on the resolution to discharge county aid liens with no activity for 30 years, as submitted by the auditor. Number 11 is to approve the chairman's signature on the State of South Dakota Land and Water Conservation Fund report, as submitted by the auditor's office. Number 12 is to approve the agreement for maintenance of Hawthorne Ditch facilities, as submitted by Highway Department. And finally, number 13 is to declare surplus for the purpose of trade 12 intoximeter alcohol sensor FSTs, as submitted by the Sheriff's Office.
Thank you, Ms. Holly. At this time, is there any members of the public who wish to remove any items from the consent agenda?
Hi, Dan Richer. Did you miss me?
You did.
Item 12. Item 12 I'd like to have taken off.
Number 12, sir.
Thank you.
Any from the commission that would like to remove any from the consent agenda? Any commissioners?
Madam Chair, 5, 6, and 7.
5, 6, and 7, Commissioner Farabee? Okay. Any other commissioners would like to remove any other items from the consent agenda? If not, can we have a motion to approve the consent agenda with the removal of 5, 6, 7, and 12?
So move.
Moved by Mr. LaCroix. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Buskerud. First, we'll go to number 5, please. Commissioner Farabee.
The minutes on page 5, where we talked last meeting about, we denied the variance. The minutes should reflect what the law says. The motion that was made to deny only requires 2 votes out of 5. not, as the minutes say, 4 affirmative votes to deny. I don't know how we want to reword this, but my issue is that posterity, next year or 2 years, 10 years from now, somebody will read this and say, what happened?
Is that a motion, Mr. Farabee?
Well, I'm throwing it out for, the minutes are the record of this board in perpetuity. So somebody picks this up and looks at it, they'll say, what happened? They'll go back to the law, and the law very clearly says, to decide in favor of the applicant requires 2/3.
So is that a motion, Mr. Farabee, to change the minutes, sir?
Yes.
Is there a second on that motion?
I want to second it for some discussion.
Second for discussion by Mr. Buskerud. So how would we like to reword that? Commissioner Farabee?
The simplest would be just to delete everything after our first motion.
Mr. Buskerud, are you in favor of that? For the seconder?
I believe so, yes.
Okay. Any other discussion? If not, we have a motion and a second to delete. If you could read that back to us, Kara, so we have that correct. Delete everything. Mr. Farabee, say it one more time.
Right. Where the minute said moved by DeSanto and seconded by Farabee to deny variance, VA 17-02, it was 3-2. The motion failed 3-2 on a roll call vote. Buskerud, yes. DeSanto, yes. Farabee, yes. LaCroix, no. Hadcock, no. Delete everything else from the minutes from that point on.
Just delete everything after.
Delete everything after that point.
Okay.
Okay, did you get that, Ms. Kara?
Delete everything
Okay,
after.
does the board understand the motion?
Well, if I can just say something, I understand the motion and I'm going to vote in favor of it, but I think, I don't know if Julie Pearson's there or not, but I think Julie would say the minutes are hers and they'll stay as written. But in this week's minutes will be the correction that Commissioner Farabee has stated. I believe that's what happened, but it's the same difference except, we're not going to delete them out of these minutes. I don't think we're going to correct them. I don't know.
Ms. Pearson?
Yes. George had talked to me about this motion, and what was added was my wording to try to get his exact point across. So it was my misunderstanding of the way to word it. So I don't have a problem that you take it out if the board believes it makes it clearer. I was trying to make it clearer to affect George's point, which I agreed with, and we thought the addition of the wording would make it clear for forever, as the minutes are, but I understood it opposite of what he's trying to say because of the word in favor. So instead of making it clearer, I believe the statement I added made it more confusing. Would you not agree,
I would agree with
George?
that, yes.
Yes, so,
Yes.
but Ron is correct. It will still appear in those minutes because that's what's sent to the paper, and then it's a correction from this month, from this meeting.
Thank you, Ms. Julie.
That's the way all corrections have to be.
So we do have a motion by Farabee, second by Buskerud, to take that from moved by DeSanto, all that part out. Do we have any other discussion? If not, roll call, please.
Buskerud,
Aye.
Farabee,
Yes.
LaCroix,
Aye.
Hadcock.
Aye, motion carries. Number 6, Commissioner Farabee?
Thank you. I certainly, I know this is just to get it on the agenda, the supplement for next meeting. But in here, in the memo, it says that the auditor is going to be absent next meeting. So maybe we should talk about it this meeting.
Commissioner Farabee, do we have a representative from the sheriff's office? Willie, are you representing the sheriff this time? And remember, this is just for a public hearing. This is not to approve this. It has to go through one more hearing. So for me, personally, I think I don't mind moving it to a hearing, but
Yes.
Really?
I'd be representing the sheriff's office today, but reference what Commissioner Farabee brought forward. I have no information on that. The sheriff and search and rescue folks were going to speak to that, so I have none of that information with me today.
Okay.
And Madam Chair, my issue wasn't with the request, it's with the memo that the auditor wrote. And here's what bothers me. The memo says that she wants us to specifically take attention to the county general fund that ended 2016, that our reserve was only at 14.14%, as opposed to the 18% that we budgeted.
Ms. Pearson, please.
What the board may do, Kevin, I knew was going to be out of town. I will be out of town on the 21st. If you want to set the budget hearing for the next meeting in April,
April 4th?
yes, I will be bringing back, I plan on having, we're finalized with financials to quite a point, so it'll be the first budget presentation on the 4th, and we could just have the hearing that day so that both Kevin and I could be here.
So the public hearing to be scheduled at 9:15 on April 4th would be the motion instead of March 21st, Ms.
Yeah.
Pearson? Okay.
And I would change the, if I may?
Yes, ma'am.
Change the time so it's after the budget discussion, because then I can present the effect of the memo that I sent as well as the full budget presentation. So maybe you could do it like at 11, as long as it's on the agenda after budget presentation.
Ms. Hawley, is that legal? Okay.
Yeah, we can set the
Change the
time.
time and, okay,
11:15, sound good? Okay.
okay, with the time being 11:15.
Yep.
So the motion would be to continue this public hearing to the schedule at 11:15 on April 4th, 2017. Is there a motion?
That was your motion, I'll second that.
I have will everybody be
Okay.
here? All the commissioners? Okay, thanks.
So I'll be on there for the first and then Mr. Farabee for the second. That'd be fine. Any other discussion? Any other discussion? If not, roll call, please.
Buskerud,
Aye.
Farabee,
Yes.
LaCroy,
Aye.
DeSanto. Or, I'm sorry, Hadcock.
Aye. Motion carries. Number 7, Mr. Farabee.
Obviously, I have no concern with Mr. Peterson being a representative as far as qualifications are concerned. My concern is, are we authorized to do this? Can we appoint somebody other than one of us to this board or this authority?
Mr. Chairperson, Jay Alderman with the State's Attorney's Office. One of the unique differences between our Rushmore Regional Rail Authority and this one is that under Rushmore agreement, you have to be a sitting commissioner to be a representative/commissioner on the authority. Not so with this particular rail authority. They did not limit it to that, so it would be absolutely appropriate if you wish to appoint Lindell Peterson.
Thank you. Commissioner
And-
Farabee, you have the floor.
Well, and if I missed it, I apologize, but is there a term on this appointment?
Ms. Hawley, do we have a term on the MRC?
Madam Chair, we left this term open-ended at this point until we make a decision on whether the board's going to continue with the MRC or not. So it is open-ended term. We don't anticipate more than a year.
Yeah. Well, once again, I have obviously no problem with qualifications. It's just, what are we as a government obligated to, can we appoint, in other words, can we appoint anybody other than one of us? And I guess the question's answered, and thank you.
Is there a motion to appoint Lindell Peterson as Pennington County Representative to serve on the authorized, or on the MRC?
It's my motion.
Motion by Buskard,
Second.
second by Mr. LaCroy. Any other discussion? If not, roll call.
Buskerud,
Aye.
Farabee,
Yes?
LaCroy,
Aye.
Hadcock.
Aye. Motion carries. Mr. Lindell Peterson is in the audience today, and we'd like to thank him for serving for us and serving Pennington County. He did an awesome job, so thank you, Mr. Lindell.
And his speech is 5-minute limited.
You need a speech, Lindell, of appointment? All right. Number 12, please.
Dan Richard again. Just want to point out the Hawthorne Ditch is a private company. And there's 3 other ditches in this county that we do not give money to for maintenance. And I've been told that the reason we give money to for maintenance is so they keep their ditch clean so it doesn't flood the road. Doesn't make sense to me. I think if they're supposed to keep their ditch clean, maybe they should keep their ditch clean. So that's the 2 points I got. They're a private company and we don't support any other irrigation ditch in the county. Thanks.
Thank you, Mr. Richard. Is there a motion or discussion?
Now, before we make a motion, I've been opposed to this for a lot of years. I don't think that we ought to be using taxpayer dollars to clean the ditch that, like Mr. Richard says, belongs to a private concern.
Do we have Tom Wilsey here from, thank you, sir. If you could give us an explanation, sir.
Tom Wilsey, Highway Department. The reason we paid them to do this is because we put some inverts in to carry the Hawthorne ditch under our roads. These are structures that we constructed as a county. So therefore, we're paying them to help keep our structures clean. The inlets plug up and it plugs the whole ditch. So as part of the agreement, we pay them to keep the inlets clean.
Thank you, Tom.
It's part of our agreement with them.
Any discussion? Do we have a motion?
Move for approval.
Moved by LaCroy. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Buskerud. Roll call, please.
Buskerud,
Aye.
Farabee,
No,
LaCroy,
Aye.
and Hadcock.
Aye. Thank you, Ms. Cara. Number 14, we're starting on the non-consent items.
Good morning, Connie Bertolato with the Highway Department. I'm here this morning to recognize our Adopt a Highway volunteers. We have a great group of volunteers, 50 groups that participated in our Adopt a Highway program in 2016. They cleaned up trash on around 111, 112 miles of our county highways, and we just want to show our appreciation to them. So I asked them if they would like to come this morning, and I had 7 groups say they'd like to come. The other groups that were not able to attend this morning will get a certificate in the mail from us, so.
So, Ms. Connie, just one question. How many groups do we have? Because when I was signing the papers at the bottom, we have a lot of volunteers in Pennington
There's
County.
50 groups.
Wow.
Yep.
That's amazing.
And it's been pretty steady at that number. You know, you lose a few and you gain a few. So we currently have 2 roads on our needy list right now. One's north of town and one's east of Old Folsom and 143rd north of town. So there are 2 roads available out there if anyone's interested in joining them.
George said he needed something to do on his spare time.
well, but certainly we can add a Hawthorne ditch to the list, right?
Okay.
Thanks, George.
All right. So the 7 groups that
Connie.
are coming this morning, I can have them come forward and I'll give them their certificate. The first group is the 28th Munition Squadron, Ellsworth Air Force Base.
Thank you, sir.
I have the 28th Logistics Readiness Squadron.
Thank you.
Ellsworth Air Force Base, Group 5-6.
A lot of military, thank you.
They're some of our most active. Hart Ranch Camping Resort Club. South Dakota 61st AFJROTC.
Nice, thank you.
South Dakota School of Mines and Technology, student members of the American Chemical Society. You're on spring break, you should get a bonus for that one. All right, thank you.
Thank you.
And United Blood Services.
Thank you.
Thank you, that's all right.
Thank you to all the participants. Would your young people like to come up and introduce themselves? You did to me, but I think the public would enjoy. I like your outfits too, those are pretty cool. Outfits, your uniforms.
61st.
Your outfits, that didn't sound quite right.
Junior ROTC at Douglas High School. We have our Kitty Hawk Air Society, which is our honor society deputy commander. We have our group commander. We have our command chief. We have our special assistant and our Kitty Hawk commander, as well as deputy commander of the group.
And the commander said he's been out there since 1971 cleaning, so thank you, sir, again.
Thank you all.
Next would be number 15, County Cares presentation, elderly and disabled assessment freezes and online property tax payment system. Ms. Janet Saylor. Today, it doesn't look like Janet. It looks like Annette.
Madam Chair and Commissioners, Annette Brandt, Chief Deputy Treasurer for Janet Saylor, Treasurer. On the side one, but not on the other one.
This will take just 2 seconds.
Okay. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and start. I'm here today to explain the assessment freeze for the elderly and disabled. These are applications that are presented yearly from the Department of Revenue, provided to the counties for us to distribute. What the program does is just it freezes the assessment on the property from increasing in value for tax purposes. This means that if the value of the home increases, the homeowner will pay tax on the former assessed lower value of the year of qualification. Property is defined as house, garage, and the lot upon which it sits, or 1 acre, whichever is less. Qualifications in the program does not freeze your taxes. It freezes the assessment amount of the home for the year that you qualify. Changes in tax levies will still fluctuate, as will your annual tax amount owed. To be eligible for the 2017 taxes payable 2018, the following criteria must be met. You must be 65 years of age or older, or disabled. You must own the home or retain a life estate in the property. Unremarried widow, widowers, or persons previously qualified may still qualify in some circumstances. Have resided for at least 200 days in the previous calendar year in the single-family dwelling. Income and property value limits do apply, and those do change annually. Single-member household, income less than $27,423.54. Multiple member household, income less than $34,279.42. And the property valuation limit is $188,240.34. Those income levels are what was received in 2016. It's based on your 2016 income. To apply, the applications are online through the state at www.dor.sd.gov or at any county treasurer's office beginning in January of each year. Applications must be submitted annually to your county treasurer on or before April 1st. This is a showing of the application itself, the front and the second. You can see that the applicant just fills out who does reside with them, and they answer a few questions proving that they are residing in the home and that their income level is where it should be, and that the home is assessed properly as well. That the home assessment is below the value, I should say. This is the worksheet that is part of the application that we assist the seniors and the disabled to verify that they do meet the income criteria. That's it for the application. The deadline is April 1st of this year, and the applications are readily available in the treasurer's office as we speak, so.
Thank you, Ms. Annette. Does any of the commissioners have any questions for Ms. Annette?
Just, Madam Chair, one question just for the public's knowledge about how many applications do we have each year?
We get in just over 500 a year.
And that's military and senior citizens or just senior citizens?
Everything, yeah.
Total? Okay.
Yep, total,
Thank you.
total.
Commissioner LaCroy, please.
Ned, I don't, last meeting, Janet had talked about it, something new with the requirements came out.
What happened was the Department of Revenue at state convention informed the treasurers that there was an income that we needed to start counting income for what the seniors were receiving for food stamps, SNAP program, and heat assistance. And then they retracted that just last week or 10 days ago or so. They retracted that.
Okay.
So,
They were, previously they were requiring that you had to have proof that you were getting heat assistance and the SNAP program.
yes. In years past, heat assistance was a requirement that we had to obtain. And then at state convention, the treasurers were told that in addition to that, SNAP was required as well. And then just 10 days ago, they retracted that.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, you're welcome.
Any other discussion? I have a couple questions. Do they just come to the treasurer's office and say, I'd like to get a tax freeze, or where do they start the process at?
Yes, they can come to our office. We have the applications handy there, or they can, the website with the Department of Revenue, they can receive one there. They can give our office a call if they'd like one mailed to them. The main thing is that April 1st deadline that they get it in by then. If they're going to be filing income tax, they have to have their income tax in so that they can send a copy of that with the application. There's a conflict there with the guideline for that is April 15th for federal income tax, but this application has to be in by April 1st with their attached copy if they're going to file. So that's important for them to get going on that.
So if they need help with the application, they just call you and say, Miss Annette, or call your office, and then you have someone kind of show them how to get it done or what those qualifications mean, and sometimes where to get to meet those qualifications.
Absolutely. We send out a form too that tells them if they're missing something of where they can acquire that information to get it, because those forms are protected. We can't call to get them for them, so they'll have to get those, but the whole staff is trained on that. So they would just come up, and when they get to the window, we assist them from there. If it's a disability situation that they need some extra time, then we can certainly make some time for that and pull them into the back to sit down and visit with them about it for first-time applicants.
Thanks, Ms. Annette. I have sent many people to your office, and they said you were very helpful at the treasurer's office, so I appreciate everything you're doing for our seniors and people that need those tax-frees.
Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Board, we're on item number 16, and that's a continuous till April 4th. Do we have a motion?
I think I need to
I thought you
do
were
the
done.
online property tax.
No, you're done.
time. Okay.
Sorry about that, I didn't see the other one
That's all
there.
right. I'm also here to just let everybody know about the online property tax payment system since April's just around the corner. This is a program that's on our penco.org website. By clicking on pay property taxes, you can check to make sure that your taxes, that your tax payment have been applied. You can, starting in January, you can start paying your own property taxes as long as they're not delinquent, will show up on there. And I'm just gonna go to the next one so that you can see what the, if you click on penco.org website and go to pay property taxes, this is the screen that you're gonna see. There's a lot of disclaimers on there, and basically it's saying if you're ready to pay your property taxes, make sure that you're ready to enter in your correct information for credit card. If you're gonna use a check, an e-check, that you're ready to enter in the correct numbers at the bottom. It's just like most websites. There is a dollar amount that is attached to the e-checks, $1.95. Or if you use your credit card, it's 2.5% to use the property tax payment online. So after you get through all of the disclaimers, you would just click the View Property Tax down at the bottom. You're going to get a screen that looks like this. You can see that if you're away from home and you know that you need to pay your property taxes, that if you don't know your tax ID number, you can put in your last name, you can put in your address, and click the search screen and choose what property you are wishing to pay. And that's what you'll get down at the, or over on the left-hand side. You can see where the number is. You just click on which one it is that you are interested in looking at, and it'll pull up the information for you and allow you to go through the process to pay. Any questions on that? Okay, in addition to the online property tax, online property tax payment, we also have the drop box that is open April 1st through April 30th and October 1st through October 31st annually as well.
Is that your presentation in today? Okay. I'm teasing.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Annette. Now number 16, please. That would be the reconveyance request for Mr. Rollins.
I'd make the motion to continue to April 4th.
Is there a second? And a motion to continue till April 4th meeting.
Second.
Motion by Commissioner LaCroy, second by Commissioner Farabee. Any discussion? Roll call, please. Oh, geez, Lindsay. I'm not feeling well today, so I apologize. Miss Julie, please.
Julie Pearson, Pennington County Auditor. If you're going to continue this to the April 4th meeting, we need the board to remove this from our, we've already had you declare it surplus. It's on our tax deed sale for April 5th. So when you're saying that you may reconvey it, we don't want to go through the effort of considering it for sale to the public if you're not going to do that.
So tell us what the motion would be.
Need to just add on to LaCroix's motion that you remove it from the county surplus list for tax deed sale on April 5th also.
Would that be okay, Mr. LaCroix?
Yeah.
Thank you.
And I second, I agree.
Okay.
Buskerud,
Aye.
Farabee,
Yes.
LaCroy,
Yes.
Hadcock.
Yes, motion carries. Number 17 is a request for waiver of building permit and penalty fees. Miss Peggy Seatler.
Madam Chair,
Mr. Commissioner LaCroy, please.
this was an item that Mr. Farabee and I had visited with Ms. Saylor on and with the planning department staff. And the conclusion that I come up with is to waive the construction fees and penalty fees of 338, all except for the floodplain 75 fee. And the reason for this, without going into a lot of detail, is I think it's a fair motion for Ms. Sailors, and we're working on some other stuff with her.
Okay. Was that a motion, Mr. LaCroy?
Yes, that'd be my motion.
Was there a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Farabee. Mr. LaCroy, would you like the floor again?
No, I think we have the motion. If there's any questions, I'll be happy to take any.
Okay. Any other discussion by the board? Ms. Seeler, would you like to visit at all up here or have any questions? Okay, ma'am. If not, roll call, please.
Buskerud,
Aye.
Farabee,
Yes.
LaCroy,
Aye.
DeSant, or Hadcock.
Aye, motion carries. Thank you, Mr. LaCroy, for finding that solution with the planning department and Mr. Farabee. Number 18 is petition of annexation South Valley Drive, Mr. Henny Shaffey. Do we have a motion?
I think he's,
Hold on just a second, Mr. Let's get a motion. Mr. LaCroy, if we could.
I'd make the motion that the Pennington County Commission hereby give consent of annexation of the unplatted territory highlighted and legally described in the annexation of Exhibit A, submitted by
Second.
KTM Designs.
Motion by Mr. LaCroy, second by Mr. Buskerud. Discussion? Farabee.
For clarification, is this all the ground excluding the road or including the road?
Do we by chance have a picture of this, Holly, that we can show the public as well so they see where Mr. Henny is?
I can try to answer that real quick while you're looking for that.
Thank you.
Again, Jay Alderman with State's Attorney's Office. In the packet with this, Commissioner Farabee, there were 2 annexation exhibits, but they weren't marked as Exhibit 1 or 2 or A or B. And the one that Commissioner LaCroy has, I marked Exhibit A because that's the one that highlights the entire area, including the road. So that's the one that you would want to, if you're going to give consent to, would be that one. So that would be the nature of the motion.
Commissioner Farabee, do you have a
You know,
question?
the reason for my question was that this is section line, correct?
I don't know if it's section, I understand it's South Valley Drive, a portion of it, so.
Reasonably certain it's section line, and there's 66-foot right-of-way for the government use. I don't think that we have to give or not give. The city can just, if it's part of the city, they can have it, because it belongs to the people. The 66-foot on a section line belongs to the people.
I mean, the bottom line, the nature of the motion is to accomplish what you just said. So that's to make it clear for the city and the county, and Mr. Shaffey, I would ask you to adopt the motion.
Henny, can you come up to the podium, please? Are you in agreement with this motion, sir?
Good morning, Madam Chair and members of the commission. My name is Hani Shafi with Dream Design. Yes, I'm okay with the motion. That way the road will be under the control of the city for maintenance and also for regulations as far as driveway approaches and what have you.
And do you have an answer for Commissioner Farabee on his question?
As far as the section line right away, the road will still be a road for the people, but it will be under the maintenance of the city.
That road just happens to be in the section line.
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Did you understand that, Commissioner Farabee?
Yes, thank you.
Okay, thank you. We have a motion by Mr. LaCroy, second by Mr. Buskerud. Any other discussion? Ms. Cara, please, for roll call.
Buskerud,
Aye.
Farabee,
Yes.
LaCroy,
Aye.
Hadcock.
Aye, motion carries. Number 19 is the isolated track on Robert and Barbara Steele. Jay Alderman, if you could tell us the process in which we start moving on an isolated track first, please?
Jody Speck, on behalf of his clients, and I believe Mr. Speck and his clients may be in the audience today, have petitioned or applied to the county commission under chapter 3122 of the code for an isolated tract. Essentially what that means, they have a piece of property that's isolated. They have no access from that piece of property to a public highway. And when you find yourself in that circumstance, if you have not been successful in negotiating with your surrounding landowners for like a private easement or that access, then you can come to the county commission that has jurisdiction over that territory where the property is situated and ask them to condemn what eventually becomes a public right-of-way for their use. I think in the packet, Mr. Speck has included a number of items for your review. Most pertinent would be, of course, his application describing the property and the proposed route that he would like over the neighbor's property, but also includes this matter actually went to court over what was thought to be an existing easement. The court ruled there is no existing easement for the isolated tract owners to use. And so at this point, without knowing more, I guess it'd be my opinion or suggestion, and I guess we'll hear from Mr. Speck as well, that this property is in fact isolated. Something needs to be done. Either there needs to be further discussions with the surrounding landowners for a private easement, which I don't know if that's happened or not since that court ruling, or the commission would need to go through the steps to declare it isolated and then follow the remainder of steps that I've provided to you.
Could you read
to do
those?
everything else. You have to
There you go.
you have to lay out a lot. So you have to give notice to the landowners. You visit the site. You would probably include the highway department. You have to lay out a route. Then you have to assess damages to the property over which the route is being laid out. So in other words, what's the damage to them to have this condemnation across their property? And then, of course, they can appeal that. There has to be a payment made of those damages that includes the cost of the proceedings to lay out and assess those damages. There's a number of steps that we would have to go through to get there. I did reach out prior to today to the primary attorney, as I understand it, to one of the surrounding landowners that is most at issue here, and said you might want to be present today. I heard back that they may or may not be, but at least I wanted you to know that I reached out to them in case you had questions for the surrounding landowners. They could be here today to answer some of those preliminary questions, but I guess at this point, it'd probably be appropriate for me to ask Mr. Speck to come forward, fill in any gap that maybe I've missed. Maybe he can update you on any negotiations they've had with the surrounding landowners, and if that is something we can expect to happen or not.
Thank you, Jay.
And then we go from there.
Mr. Speck, if you'd like to come up, sir.
Good morning.
Good morning, sir.
My name is Jody Speck. I'm attorney for Robert and Barbara Steele, and they're the ones that owns the tract that's not accessible by a public highway, nor does it adjoin a section line, and it's more than 10 acres. It's 16-plus acres. Telling you that, I've just described what an isolated tract is, according to the statute. So it fits it. We've been working on this for quite a long time. We were before this board in December of 2015. And the recommendation and essentially the ruling of the board was that there was an easement. It was shown in several of the contracts for deeds and warranty for deeds and those types of things. And so we litigated it. And of course, during the course of litigating, I think we started the suit in May of 2016. And prior to that, and prior to coming to the board, we had talked to the surrounding landowners, and they didn't want to allow us access. And then we went through the process of litigating it, started in May, and I think we got our answer, I don't know, October. I believe. And Judge Gasinski, the circuit court judge here of the Seventh Circuit, ruled that there were no easements, and the reason there weren't any easements is because it violated the statute of frauds, because the description of the easement was not specific enough to determine which parcel was the dominant tenement and which was the servient tenement. The easements were done kind of fast and loose when the development company, Hillsview Acres, essentially sold over 500 acres. 532 at one time, might have been more prior to that. But it was done kind of fast and loose, and so the judge ruled that there were no easements. And the Steeles have owned this piece of property. They did it essentially on a contract for deed through Hillsview Acres in 1977. And I don't know how long the Bradsky Road District has been in effect, but enabled to access, and the actual public highway, the closest one, is Bradsky Road. On their tax receipt or whatever, they have paid that road district since whenever it was created. Yet they have no access to their property. And so what we're asking is the board to declare this, and if my take on the statutes is that the first thing that needs to be done is for the board to rule that this is an isolated tract, it meets the criteria, and therefore contact the surrounding landowners that it is an isolated tract, and then go to the site and pick a route on which the Steeles can access, ingress and egress essentially, this 16-acre parcel. Now what we've asked the board, or suggested to the board, is that the desired route would be an existing road, gravel road with culverts, because it does go through a drainage area with stock dams on both sides. That the Steeles be allowed to use this private road, essentially condemn a private road for public access. And it goes from essentially the lot line, where we thought the easement began, lot line at Bradsky Road, and it goes around some rather rough terrain and then arcs back to another lot line, which the easement would have began. And you can see it in yellow there. That's Bradsky Road on the east, or on the west, and then you go up the hill, and then you can see Comerford property, a small section. He owns a much larger section, which is the Kathy C's Lazy T. But it essentially goes to the property pin right there, and then it's very flat, and I believe there's a gate there where you can go north to the Steeles property. And that's the preferred route for us, because we already have existing road, existing improvements as far as culverts. And then once you get to the top, it's nice and flat right to the Steeles property. So that's what we're requesting. And so I think the first thing that the board needs to do is declare it an isolated tract, and then set a time and date on which you can go out and view the property and do what is ever necessary to lay out a course or an access easement, and also notify the surrounding landowners so that they can come out and watch and make suggestions or whatever. That's pretty much where we're at.
Thank you, Mr. Speck. Any questions from the board?
Anybody else that wants to speak?
Well, I'll have a chair.
Thank you,
Thank
Mr.
you.
Speck. Anyone else like to speak on the isolated track?
I am one of the people that own land around them. There never really has been any negotiations with them. They've just tried to force their way from the beginning. There is other options besides what they want to do. There is a section line right off the end of Bradsky Road on the corner there that comes across, which where they wouldn't, I mean, they could legally use, they would just have to come across the Gray property.
Can you point that out?
The 3 sections of Gray, there you have that, right below the 13, there's a section line. Between, well, you see 4 sections of Gray. The one is not actually owned by Gray.
Do you have a pointer or anything, Miss Holly?
It's the red dashed line.
Yeah,
that
the
goes
red-
up on top right there.
The red dash line is a section line that goes across.
If you look at the main screen, it's this red section line. Come on. And my battery's dead. This is the red dash line that goes about a fourth of the way down.
If you can see where Bradsky Road turns there and heads to the south, it goes right off the end of Bradsky Road. Just to the bottom of that 33 where you got the 4 Gray properties there.
Fine.
It goes right in between the Gray properties and then it comes across. And then they're not affecting somebody else's private driveway. I mean, that's a section line. So they would have to end up coming through the Gray property, which is a flat sectional line, or flat property, which is a lot easier to build on.
Any questions?
But, I mean, there has never been really any talk of this between us, me and them, or Kathy and them. It's always been a demand from the beginning. You need to give us this, you need to give us this. So, and I know they've been offered multiple times by several people just to buy them out. So it's not like there's a, you know, to cure this problem.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Wells.
Yep.
Any questions for Mr. Wells?
I guess I'd like to confirm with that, now where are you located?
I'm directly in front of them.
Does it show?
So
that?
you are adjacent.
Yep.
Well, the law talks about surrounding, Madam Chair, it talks about surrounding lands. So being adjacent, you are part of the surrounding.
Yeah, I've lived there for 30-some years, so, I mean, between me and my dad. And at one time, I did own the 3 properties there that are marked by Gray, that say Gray on them too.
So you're here to say today that they have not negotiated with you?
No, they have not negotiated with either one of us. I mean, it's been no negotiating at all. They just went straight to trying to get it, force it, so.
Well, there's 2 properties affected, the Comerfords and the Wells.
Yep.
Okay.
Well, Madam Chair, the law says, if I might, if the owner of such isolated tract is unable to agree with the owner of surrounding lands for purchase, then he or she may apply to the Board of Commissioners, and I think we need to do step 1 first.
Okay, Alderman, please.
If I may address that briefly in just a practical observation. Mr. Speck is here and could probably address the nature of negotiations that have happened with Wells, Comerford, the Lazy T Ranch folks. There's a number of people there. So maybe he could address the board on that. From a practical standpoint, yes, I would agree. That's an important first step. Other than that, maybe since the commission, if you were to go the route of declaring this property isolated, you might want to first hear from the surrounding landowners.
Right.
And you might want them, if they're interested enough in showing up at a hearing and saying, we disagree with the proposed route that the applicant has identified. We think, just as Mr. Wells just stated, I think it ought to be over here. Well, it would be nice to have, for instance, Mr. Wells actually take, for instance, that drawing you have there and highlight his own proposed route. And the Comerfords to do the same thing if they have a different route they propose. So you could see those, you could hear from them, you could talk to them. I think it makes sense to do all of that before you would actually go out and visit the site. So you have an idea of what everybody's mindset is before you would arrive out there and then have people driving you around, well, I think it ought to go over here. No, I think it ought to go over here. That's not a good time and to hear that for the first time. So I would suggest that you hear from Mr. Speck on the nature of negotiations and if there's room to do that. maybe do another hearing where all of these folks are asked to be here with their own proposed routes and ready to answer any questions you might have. And then and only then do you actually set a time to notice them all up to when you're going to go out and actually walk around the property and look at it and consider all of the proposed routes. That's just my observation.
Madam Chair, I move that we follow the law, SDCL 31-22-2.
Is that a motion, Mr. Farabee?
That's a motion, yes.
Is there a second? Is there a second on
Well,
that
I'll
motion?
second it. I don't think there's any need, because I think we're supposed to always do that, but I see what George is driving at, and I would agree with our state's attorney also.
So there's been a motion to follow, say that again, George.
SDCL 31-22-2, I believe it was.
-2. There's been a motion by Commissioner Farabee and a second by Mr. Buschrood. Any discussion? Mr. Speck, please. At the podium, if we could, sir.
That particular statute is very large, so just to throw it out there and say we should follow that, that really doesn't give anybody any direction. So I would like Mr. Furby to tell me what portion of that rather large paragraph he's referring to.
Mr. Farabee, would you like to answer the question? Sir?
Yes, I previously stated about that if the owner of such an isolated tract is unable to agree with the owner of surrounding lands for purchase, and then to the end of the sentence. So unable to agree. I think that the owner is obligated to bring us some written document saying they're unable to agree with the surrounding landowners. That's the law. That's what the law says.
Well, it doesn't say anything about a written document, and it's hard for me to believe that we would undergo a 6-month lawsuit where the surrounding landowners are represented by 2 other competent attorneys, that negotiations didn't take place rather than going all the way with it.
Madam Chair, if I might, previous speakers got up and said, and I asked him point blank, "Are you adjacent landowner?" He said yes. And I asked him, "Have you had any negotiations?" And he said no.
So, Mr. Speck, you say that we've had negotiations and that was the court case, or have you talked to Mr. Wells, Mr. Comerford through that court case? Have you talked to him after that fact on the isolated tract? Because was the isolated tract, that wasn't taken to court, the easement was, right? To see if there was an easement. Am I correct,
Right.
sir?
Right.
Okay. So the negotiations in court were basically over easement. After that fact, did you have negotiations and talk with Mr. Wells, Mr. Comerford?
Actually, that's not correct, that the lawsuit was simply over the easement. I mean, the lawsuit was whether there's an easement there or not.
Right.
But the attorneys, as well as I would imagine all the parties, knew that either there was an easement there or it was an isolated tract. So maybe we should work something out and negotiate, possibly do a road agreement with Mr. Comerford or something with Mr. Wells. I mean, that went on for quite a while. And so a question that you could ask Mr. Wells, because he came up here and made that statement, you could ask Mr. Wells if he was represented by attorney Robert Galbraith and whether that attorney negotiated with me on trying to resolve the issue of an easement.
Okay,
Because that did happen.
okay. Thank you, Mr. Speck. Any discussion from the board?
Madam Chair.
Commissioner LaCroy.
You know, in reading through this, I mean, these are tough decisions to have to make, and I tend to agree with our attorney that, you know, I was prepared to move forward with the isolated tract because I think all parties involved have gotten to a point where they can't come together to make a decision. And sometimes at this point, going forward with the isolated tract helps bring people together and gets them out to look and see what some other options may be. You know, I can see where they come through with the property owners are talking about the yellow, and Mr. Wells saying he's never been approached about the other one, but I can see why we're where we're at. Jay, what was your suggestion that we try to have a meeting
Okay, Alderman,
before we
please.
move forward with the isolated track to come up with other options? Mr. Wells can bring his option of the road that he thinks is possible, and
How does that meeting take place?
No, here's what I was suggesting. If the commission is not prepared today, which is understandable, because you want more information, if you're not prepared today to declare this property isolated and then move forward, then what my suggestion is this matter be continued for 2 weeks to the next hearing of the county commission, which I believe would be March 21st.
Yep.
And I guess I would work with Holly to try to get all of these surrounding or adjacent landowners noticed that your presence is highly recommended, yourself and your attorney, to address any questions the commission might have with regard to the requirements, and that it would be advisable to bring your own piece of paper, like Mr. Speck did. If you have a route that you think is better than the one Mr. Speck, on behalf of his clients, has marked, you ought to mark it and bring it on March 21st. Then you can ask all those questions. Maybe at that hearing you can decide it's isolated or it's not isolated, and then we'd go forward from there. But that brings everybody together, and you get the whole picture and your opportunity to ask any of them questions. That's my recommendation.
Commissioner LaCroy?
I think I'm gonna, we continue this 2 weeks from before, and even prior months, I think they've been trying to work together, and I think it's just getting delayed. I think I'd refer just a little bit longer if there's any more discussion. Mr. Farabee has any suggestions, or Ron, before I make a substitute motion.
Thank you.
Madam Chair, bottom line, the law says unable to agree. That notion has to be conveyed to us, the board, somehow. And Mr. Speck lightheartedly said something about a written document. Well, no, it doesn't say written document, but it's your obligation to convey that to us. So how would you do that, if not in writing? Like our state's attorney says, you all get together in a room. That would be a conveyance to us. But the unable to agree has to be conveyed to us before we make a decision. Thank you.
Couple of things. I think continuing the matter is okay till the 21st, because Jay just lined out that he would, with the landowners, try to find that negotiation, and that did work last time, with trying to negotiate and see where everybody was going on that isolated track. The bottom line, that isolated track never happened because of negotiations and things that we helped in that situation. So this is the first step Jay is saying that we could do, actually, he could do and help us in finding what's coming next for the isolated track or the road, because everybody would be on the same page saying, okay, we think this is a great way or this is a great way. I'll just tell you, this doesn't take a couple weeks. It took us months to figure out an isolated track last time, guys. So I think following through with the first step for both sides so they know what's happening is a positive.
Madam Chair. Thank you for the information. I think I'm prepared to make the substitute motion to continue this to the next commission meeting and direct Jay and staff to contact the property. You want to help me out with what you want to do?
Right, we would contact the property owners and let them know that you would like them to appear before you on March 21st, and to bringing any suggestions they have with regard to whether the property is isolated. If so, what their proposed route would be if different from the applicants, and be prepared to answer any questions you have. That was my proposal. I would not be a part of negotiations.
No.
I would think that, given if that's the motion that's adopted, there could certainly be negotiations that happen in the next 2 weeks you don't need to show up 2 weeks from now and think about maybe having negotiations. So I would like to think that any number of the parties would get together. We'd try to notice them as quickly as possible and maybe plant that seed, if you will.
Thank you,
So
Jay.
there's been a substitute motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Been a motion and a second. Motion by Commissioner LaCroy and second by Commissioner Buschrood. Any discussion?
I did something. Oh, did you have something, Jay?
Essentially, the substitute motion is the same as mine, just worded differently. My motion was to follow the law. The first step is negotiate.
Okay,
So
thank
I
you.
have no problem. Go ahead.
Okay, any other discussion?
Thank you, George. I just reiterate that I'd like to see something happen in between now and then, maybe some communications or some offers get, different solutions get brought forward, but I'm in support of the motion.
Thank you, Mr. LaCroy. And I agree with Mr. LaCroy, you have to have the discussions, at least try to contact each other on this issue, and maybe Mr. Speck, contact them again, see as well if they have alternative routes or anything that they could bring forward, just so there's some negotiations and some kind of paper and basically a accounting of how you're trying to negotiate always helps on this commission for moving forward, sir. That being said, there is a motion. Ms. Kara, roll call, please.
Buschrood,
Aye.
Farabee,
Yes.
LaCroy,
Aye.
Adcock.
Aye, motion carries. Thank you for your help, Jay. Number 20, please. This is South Dakota Department of Revenue, South Dakota County's value of agricultural land assessment. Request for alignment with Trask and Jordan appeal suits. Mr. Pat Trask, please.
Hi.
I was hoping to introduce this, which I didn't have in the packet, and this would be a little present for all the commissioners and staff. If you could make a copy for each of them.
Okay.
Holly, go.
My wife made a little note there for me on what the Pennington County office sent, and she said, based on her mathematics of the agenda, I have 41 seconds. Is that right?
What's that?
My wife thinks by reading the agenda that was sent out that I have 41 seconds to speak.
No time limit.
Oh, you don't want to say that to me.
Okay, 3 minutes. Go, I'm kindly.
Okay. My name is Pat Trask, and I am an officer of the Elm Springs Township in Meade County, and lifelong resident and taxpayer in Meade County. I have been a taxpayer sometimes in Pennington County, and my relatives are, and so the two counties are right there amongst our property, and so Pennington County is also home as well as Meade County. The subject here, and I'm kind of keying on the response by Mr. Rittberger and Mr. Alderman to my overture to the county commission office to be able to bring this subject in front of you all. And there are a number of things that Mr. Rittberger and Mr. Alderman have very capably recommended in their paperwork here. The subject about the equalization law that was passed in '08, we call it the productivity assessment law. And so, as Mr. Alderman has correctly imputed, there is an appeal moving forward toward the circuit court, then to the Supreme Court, about the appeal application in townships in Meade County and in the county as a whole. And so my purpose of bringing this subject before you is not to attract your participation in something that's not affecting you. To the contrary, the principles that are involved here are, and this is my perspective, the principles that are involved are essentially combative in the application of the productivity assessment statute. And the key of that statute is 10.633.2. There's more paragraphs, but that is, and has been pointed out repeatedly, is the driving core of the statute. The contention here is not that the statute is wrong. It has some gray areas, but the statute is a good statute. It was a long battle to get the statute passed, which put in motion the productivity rather than the market transaction of deeds, which takes in Wall Street moving into ownership of rural property in our state and other states. And so the productivity assessment statute entered at a time that there had been a significant historical backdrop of the Department of Revenue under previous governors, and particularly Governor Janklow, to overreach the authority of the state and the state's Department of Revenue into the capacity of counties and townships to do the equalization and assessment duties.
So your request today, Mr. Trask, is basically, what's the bottom line?
Okay, my request here today is, and I know this is complex and you got a lot to do. Meade County has recently taken action which brought to the forefront the paradox between what the exactitude of the statute is in 10.633.2, which is an unequivocal statutory authority for this commission and the office of the assessor, Mr. Rittberger here, Mr. Chafee, and Meade County, to capably, unit by unit, assess the productivity value. And the statute gives the methodology, but the ultimate arbiters are, and that's in 10.633.2, is the Director of Equalization in each county and the County Commission. And what is happening, and it is becoming more visible in a graphic paper form, is this long-standing combatant status of the Department of Revenue to tell the county and its assessor, the County Commission and its assessor, what the ultimate value of the county ag property is. And the state doesn't have that authority. The state has the authority in the statute to gather the information from all of the factors, the National Ag Statistics Service, Farm Service Agency, NRCS, all of that, and present that to the county assessor and the county commission. So it's a seeming authority, but it's not the final authority. The statute maintains very specifically that lies with you and your assessor.
So you'd
And
like
so
us,
where the rubber meets the road is when the department is attempting to extort from the West River counties, let's say, but from other counties also, by an imputation of, let's say, cropland status to non-crop property, which exorbitantly raises the assessment imputation value of that property in a way that it is not
so
being used.
Mr.
And-
Trask?
Okay, so you want me to get specific? I'm sorry.
No, just
Okay.
a question.
Okay.
Did you go to court with the state?
No, we're
to show
moving
that
toward,
they don't have that authority at this point?
no, we're moving toward that. And so, but one of my missions here is to make known to you all
Okay,
one of my missions here today is to implore you to take a similar action to the Meade County Commission, which was to defend only the application of your director
Right.
in the statute, in the application, the statute in the Constitution, and not that of the Department of Revenue, which is essentially making two counties, and I'm going to go to as many of the counties as I can muster in the calving season,
Okay.
and ask them to do the same thing, because that gives you some latitude to say, we didn't willfully want to continue being part of something that we now understand is an illicit perspective about the statute.
Okay, Mr. Trask.
Okay,
Give
so-
me just a second. So did this board understand the request from Mr. Trask of what he wants from the county commission today?
I think so, but I'm hesitant.
Let me,
Excuse me, I'm talking.
Hold on, sir.
sorry.
That's
I'm
okay.
hesitant with, you know, I read through what Meade County had done, but at the time that Meade County there was no lawsuit at that time, and there was probably no legislation going through that was part of it either. That's a question.
Is there a question?
What Meade County did here in the last several weeks, it was on December
14th of 2016.
Yeah, December, and then the 28th of 2016. The motion was made that the county commission direct its attorney to file an answer containing an admission that 10.633.2 is an applicable statute and was not followed by the county at the instruction of the Department of Revenue. In other words, it was not followed because the Department of Revenue, and I'm going to use this word, coerced the county authority to back away from the exact exhortation that was given by the local government and appeals to follow the law. The Department of Revenue said, you will accept this number, thank you, you will accept this number as a critical climax number of the value of your county, and you spread that amongst all the taxpayers. You can't make any abbreviation or amendments to the number that's the value of the ag land in your county. We, the state, will make that. And that is, and I'm telling you here, that's an act of violence against the Constitution and the statute for them to tell you that you cannot follow the law, because the law says essentially you're zero-based budgeting. It says you will assess unit by unit, according to the productivity, all of the ag land by the county and adjust accordingly. That means that you take this value, this value, this value, and add them up, and what that comes to, and if it's different than what the state's number is that they said, that's your latitude.
Thank you, Mr. Trask. Go ahead, Commissioner.
Through all that, I didn't know if my answers got answered.
At the time that this happened,
Got the date.
these appeals were
The
filed
question-
and perfected.
That was one of the questions.
Okay.
Was there a lawsuit filed? Did you have a lawsuit pending when Meade County acted on this?
Is this lawsuit been
Yes.
settled?
Okay.
Yes.
The lawsuit's been
No,
settled?
the court date is soon to be set.
So you want us to write a letter with you saying that we agree with Mr. Trask?
Well, I don't have the wherewithal, because I don't have all the depositions and the communications and emails of how this happened between Mr. Rittberger and the Department of Revenue. I can't know that. That's knowledge that you can know, but if the same kind of intimidating transaction of mail and emails happened that imputed to your county and your county director
Right.
That you don't have the latitude to set the value of the ag land in your county autonomous from the discretion of the Department of Revenue, then you have a grievance that is parallel to Meade County's.
So you would like us to parallel Meade County
If,
with a
if
grievance?
that's the status.
That's the request, okay.
Yep.
Okay, let these guys talk for just a minute.
Okay.
Okay, thank you, sir. Commissioners, do we have a motion or a question for Mr. Trask?
I don't have any questions. I tend, when there's legal actions pending, I tend to go with the side of our legal counsel, which would be not to take any action at this time with the pending lawsuit. That's my preference when I hear that. You know, I'd be willing to, you know, I think we've had some discussions in the last couple of weeks about what you're talking about. I think there's some legislation going through that could help. Personally, myself, you know, this all of a sudden coming forward, and you've got a lot to say, but I'd probably like to research a little bit more. But at this point in time, I couldn't move forward with the same thing Meade County had done.
So Commissioner LaCroy, are you saying to deny the request for alignment with Trask and Jordan appeal suits? Is that your motion?
At this time, yes.
Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Buskard. Discussion?
No, I don't know that we ought to be making motions. I think Mr. Trask is here to bring us up to speed on what's going on and.
That's true.
And trying to sell us and,
Well, actually, Commissioner Farabee, point of order, just for a second. The motion on here was to request for alignment with Trask and Jordan appeal suits. So there has to be, because that was the motion, or that's what he wanted, there has to be a denial or approval to do that letter and align with him or align without him. So, hold on, Mr. Trask. So that's why we made a motion. Discussion from the board?
I just have one thing to say. I have absolutely no problem with having a court decide what that statute actually does mean. And I guess it takes somebody like Mr. Trask to take it to court, and that's a good thing, because we need to know the answer. I don't know if I'm not quite prepared to send a letter saying, yes, we agree that the state coerced us and did something wrong. I don't want to go that far.
Well, Mr. Trask, we're not denying that we appreciate what you're saying. We're denying that we're not going to put a letter with you on that process. We think what you're doing is positive, but that is your right. But we're saying at this point, if this motion carries, that if we deny this letter, that you can still move forward.
I just wanted to clarify for the record.
Yes, sir.
I am not asking your elected officials or Mr. Rittberger to enter into the litigation at this point. I was wanting to turn the lights on.
Okay.
And to ask, and not necessarily that you had to take any action at this meeting or the next meeting, but that you analyze the intent of the motions made by Meade County to withdraw themselves from a lack of invincible ignorance about the status of the law, and to put yourself in alignment like the previous subject that was happening here, that the letter of the statute of 10633.2 is where you want it to be.
Thank you, Mr. Trask.
In consonance with Meade County, and so.
So if this is just informational, sir, then we won't need a motion, if that's okay, board, that we take that motion off the or put it on the table, or however we need to dispose of it, and we just call it an information from Mr. Trask, if that's okay.
I would be more inclined to go that route. I think when it's on the agenda, we usually have something, but if you're saying it's informational, I appreciate that, and we'll do more research.
Would that be okay with the board if we just put it as an informational item? Even though there was a request, he has said it's just information, it's not for a letter. Is that okay with you, Mr. Buskard, Mr. Farabee?
I agree.
Okay. Did you get that,
Yeah,
Carla?
that's fine.
Okay.
Sure.
Thank you, sir.
And if I might, well, Mr. Trask is at the podium. Obviously, I'm very sympathetic to the cause of West River. It's not just Meade County, Fall River counties and Harding County. They're all having difficulties. And people forget that it doesn't rain in western South Dakota like it does in eastern South Dakota. That's one big issue. And the other issue is pasture. Sure, it could raise a crop in a good wet year, but it belongs in pasture. And unfortunately, the folks in the legislature don't understand that issue. So, thank you.
If I could just add a couple of tidbits for you to know, because I really wanted you to know this. In the correspondence with the Department of Revenue,
That'd be fine, sir.
the Department of Revenue has clearly contended that the consideration, as there's two considerations on non-cropland, which is animal unit carrying capacity and rental rates. And so they gleaned the same information and made it available to our county assessor as we had gleaned from NASS, which shows 10 or 8-year Olympic average, almost a horizontal line. And so when that discussion was going back and forth of the point that Commissioner Farabee just made, the director person of the Department of Revenue made the comment that the variances between the precipitation at the Minnesota line and the Wyoming line are inconsequential because the carrying capacity is the same from one end of the state to the other, and it's discretionary. The department doesn't have to consider what the law says. And that's part of what I really wanted you to know, because they're not following the law, and they're, where the statute says shall, you would have to say may in order for them to be accurate.
Thank you, Mr. Trask. We appreciate you bringing this information to us forward.
One more invitation. Mr. Farabee and some of the others in the audience have attended before the annual picnic that our township puts on, and our family and the fire department at Elm Springs, and it's the Ronald Reagan picnic. And so everyone in the room is invited to, and that is July 7th. It's a Friday instead of a Saturday this year.
Mr. Trask, if you could send that information to Miss Holly.
Okay.
Sounds like a great invitation, sir.
It will be really fun.
Thank you, sir.
If you like fireworks, that's the place. That's the place to go. That's the place to go.
Thank you, Mr. Trask, for your information today. Number 21 is the LED lighting update in the James Kerstead Event Center at the Central States Fairgrounds. Mr. John Kaiser.
Hello, Commissioners. John Kaiser, Central States Fairgrounds. First off, just want to again thank you all for the support and the funding for the LED lights. As most of you might know, GenPro was awarded the bid, and the installation of the lights is actually complete. They accomplished the task in just shy of a month, and we actually have the lighting controls being installed this week. The controls essentially will allow us to control each individual light to a certain percentage of however we deem fit for the certain event that might be taking place in the event center. We've also zoned it out into 8 varying zones, one being over the arena, over the north concrete, south concrete, east concrete. And so that just gives us a little bit more controls to set different scenes for, and to accommodate a lot more different events than just having the on and the off position for the lights. We can control the amount of light output that it distributes. And like I said, we'll have the lighting, the controls itself will be completed hopefully end of this week, with training beginning early next week. At which point I invite each and every one of you down to see the progress. And I don't know if those pictures that I sent, are we able to pull those up or no?
We can get them on the screen, yeah. The commissioners have them in their package.
Oh, yes, okay, you have them in the packet, so that's good enough. But you can see from the pictures that I sent Ms. Holly the extreme difference in lighting that it brought, and it really upped the foot candles, and it's really going to do a lot for the event center. And I believe it also shows the people that use the event center that even though it's it's doing well and that we're filling it quite regularly, that we're continuing to update and make the fairgrounds as good as it possibly can be. So.
Thank you, John. Any questions for John on the lighting? No discussion?
Nope.
Thank you, John. John was instrumental in getting this done with the Fairgrounds Board and Mr. Ron Jeffries, and we really appreciate all the work he's been doing at the fairgrounds. He has done a lot of landscaping, other things out at the fairgrounds, and you'll have to go look. I think he's just doing a great job out there. I was on the board last year. Mr. DeSanto was there this year, and I'm an alternate, but I invite the public out to the fairgrounds. They're re-landscaping and doing many different positive things out there for the rural and Rapid City people. So, thank you, John. Number 22 is a request to bid event center stall barn at the Central States Fairgrounds.
Now, that's, the language on that's a little, it's changed quite a little bit, but essentially, just to take you all back, I spoke to most of you on the phone already about it. Last year, towards the end of the year, I applied for some money from the Rapid City Vision Fund for a multi-purpose arena, which basically multi-purpose to us is just allows us to host more equestrian events inside of the event center. The event center, the main event center, as we all know, is completely booked every weekend through the middle of 2018. So we're turning away lots of potential economic impacting events. And so my presentation when I went to the Vision Fund was basically to open up the door to another avenue of revenue and bringing in economic development to the city and to the community. Thankfully, I was awarded I was awarded $550,000 from Rapid City Vision Fund for this project. Now with the investment from the CSF, Central States Fairgrounds Foundation, we're looking to get this building up and going. Basically, its purpose is just to attract larger, newer events without kicking out. I mean, we could obviously go and take these smaller events that are currently in the event center and tell them, see you later, we're going to go on to bigger and better things. But these are events that have supported, that are locals and have supported the Central States Fairgrounds for a long time. Basically, it's, and just to give you an idea, and you all have the drawings there, it's basically roughly a 175 by 250 building. That'll allow us to basically have a 150 by 200 to 225 foot arena. And like I said, dirt floor, nothing fancy, but it brings in a lot of economic development. We bring in a lot of people. If you come down to our events, they're people that you don't know, and they're not sleeping in tents and eating sack lunches. They're out in the area spending money and bringing money into our community. This building is just going to allow us to accomplish much more than that as well. So
what are you requesting today?
What I'm requesting today, and the idea here is that this would be a county-owned building. So basically, I'm just asking you guys to make this a county project and allowing me to move forward with it, which would start by going to design. I'd be working with Mr. Cool from Buildings and Grounds on finding a design engineering firm to get going on the actual building. And then from there, it'd just be following the appropriate steps with the commission to, once the design is done, show you the design. If you like it, great. Proposal to go to bid. Commission would then open bids, commission would then award bids, and then we begin construction.
So your request would be to work with the Buildings and Grounds, basically committee, to move forward on an event center stall barn at the Central States Fair.
Correct. And just to kind of clarify some of the more financial aspects of things, and Mrs. Pearson might want to interject, but essentially everything would be ran through the county. I spoke to the city attorney yesterday, and just to make sure I nailed down all the finer points, the money's available, and it'd basically be once we award bid before construction, the city would then, I believe, either cut a check or, however they would transfer the money. The total $550,000 to the county, and same with the CSF Foundation with the $250,000 would just be, and then subsequently with the financing as well. So,
do we have any questions for John, Commissioner Fairby?
I do. That earmark from the Rapid City Vision Fund, how long is that good for?
The idea is they would like, the big push this year with the Vision Fund was to have was basically to have the ground broke in 2017, which according to my timeline should work just fine. And I can review that timeline with you if you would like.
Total price for the project?
It's kind of hard to say because it is a competitive bid market and we haven't really gotten that far into the design process yet. I wanted to make sure that I had your approval before I went and contracted out with the design team. Basically rough, if I had to give it to you, it would be somewhere between 1.3 and 1.6 million.
So the city's.
George,
going to be
Commissioner
about-
Fairby.
Excuse me, about a third.
Pull your mic down just a little.
Sorry.
Thank you, sir.
So the other 700, 800,000 would come from where?
The Central States Fairgrounds would be financing that, and we've worked with lenders, and we have everything ready to go, just pending based off of, today's turnout, and then, of course, once the bid is completed, what the actual amount might be. Like, again, it's a very competitive bid market, so to actually, you can nail down an approximate, and I feel very comfortable with the approximates that I've given, because I've spoken to many builders who have given me that range.
And Madam Chair, our subsidy to the taxpayer subsidy to the Central States Fair is 300, 400,000.
From this committee, 183. From the board, is that what you're asking, George, what we subsidize them?
Was the mill levy applied to all Pennington County taxpayers and nets how much, or that's?
If I may.
Ms. Pearson?
Julie Pearson, Pennington County Auditor. We levy over $500,000 for the fair in its entirety, which includes the bond payment, which is around $300 and some thousand, and the rest is basically a subsidy. Originally, the Central States Fair was going to build the building, secure the money, and it would be a county building. But because this property has been pledged under our bonding documents, so if the board chose in the future to spend any bond money, we had to list the fair. So they can't build on our land. And we will not ever be able to be forced to take on the debt. The difference between the Vision Funds and the Central States Fair is a loan to the Central States Fair, foundation?
Incorporated.
Incorporated, not Pennington County. And the bankers that John has talked to are aware they will not have the equity in the building. It always was intended to be Pennington County's building because it's our property. And they're well aware of that. They do loans to this type of entity on a regular basis, such as for road districts that have no equity that can be taken. And John and I have had the conversation that at this time, the county is not being asked to make up the difference of that. Their bonds are paid off either this year or next year, and that amount of bond payment has been promised and allocated to the master plan. So for them to increase that levy back up, if they were ever in default of that loan, they'll have no standing.
Thank you. So roughly half, taxpayers are kicking in $500,000 roughly.
From the Vision Fund monies, yes.
So I mean, the mill levy for all Pennington County taxpayers is roughly $500,000.
Right now,
Right.
yes.
Okay, thank you. And how would it affect interest rates if, what I'm hearing the auditor say is that we're first in line, so whoever you borrow money from is going to be second in line. How much is that going to jack up your interest rates?
I couldn't really, like I said, everything's been very preliminary right now because we don't know the amount that we need to finance until we get the bid. And I haven't even gotten design. Like I said, to go out and do all this is a moot point if it doesn't make it past this board.
You're probably looking at well over 4% interest.
Right. The idea, of course, would be to use the money that we have, the $800,000, first, and then, obviously not finance until we absolutely had to. Now, the perk is that we're going to be saving roughly about $1,000 a month just on our lights in the event center. And realistically, we're looking at booking this place 3 times a month if we want to make this bill. And at the rate that we book it, and the rate that we book anything, I mean, there's there's not a single day where there doesn't seem to be something going on at the fairgrounds. You know, I can't really comment on what happens if we default, because it's hypothetical.
Thank you.
Mr. Fairby.
Thank you.
Commissioner LaCroy, please.
Well, thank you, John. I think you answered some of the questions in the roundabout, what George is talking. I was thinking, because you're saying the rest of the funding is going to be coming from the fair board.
Yes, they're going to go out and borrow the money for the remainder of the project, and it will be spent last. So, and I don't believe they ever talked to the bankers about a difference in interest rate, because the Central States Fair could never have owned the building anyway. So it's just like the banks that loan money on road district improvements. There is nothing to put a lien against. So this is the same effort. So the banks that John and the Central States Fair Board have talked to are in the practice of making these type of loans. Though they are not a municipality, a government, I don't even think you're a 501c3, are you?
The 501, the foundation's a
Foundation.
501c3. The Central States Fairgrounds is 501c5.
Yes. They're aware of making that. So they never had any collateral for this loan. They're just basing it on the fact that the Central States Fair Board will make the payments of the difference, and they have to make those arrangements.
Commissioner LaCroy, did you have any other questions?
No, I just thanks Julie for that clarification. And I think as you were talking through the vision funds getting run through the county the way it's going to do should be a good flow of how it's going to work from my understanding. So I guess the motion he's looking for is for.
Just to clarify on that.
Hold on, John. Hold on, John. Julie, do you have a motion that would fit this for us better than just a request for a bid event stall at the central?
Madam Chair, before we go there, I'd like to get Commissioner Buskerud's comments.
We can still have his comments. Mr. Fairby, let's get a motion on the floor, and then we'll have Mr. Buskerud speak, if that's okay, Mr. Buskerud?
Oh, yeah, that's fine.
Basically, if I may.
Go ahead, Ms. Julie.
The board needs to authorize the building of a stall barn on Pennington County Central States Fairgrounds, and approve that John Kaiser work with county staff to design, engineer, and architect process, and come back for authorization to bid.
Mr.
With
LaCroy?
no funding coming from Pennington County budget.
That would be my motion.
Been a motion by Mr. LaCroy. Is there a second? Is there a second? I'll second for discussion. Mr. Buskerud, would you like to comment?
Well, yeah, I guess it's, having a building without having to pay for it is great. Other than, what do you assume that the maintenance costs on this building are going to be every year?
Extremely low. It's essentially just going to, and there will be bid alternates on the building as well, just to kind of verify, kind of what, depending on where things come in. Maintenance costs will be covered by Central States Fairgrounds. A big aid, and the reason that the fairgrounds ticks is because we have a great relationship with the Department of Correction Volunteer Program, which helps keep our maintenance at a very low minimum. And with the advances in technology, if we were to, do this building correctly and we get the, the proper lighting and stuff like there, the new lights that we just had put in are zero maintenance for the next 40 years. And it's got a dirt floor. Aside from scrubbing the walls and occasionally, fixing a roof leak, it's pretty minimal, sir.
Okay. Well, I don't know. I'm not real comfortable with us owning a building and someone else paying for it. And I see a lot of things that can happen there, but I guess I'm in favor of it.
Thank you, Mr. Buskerud. I believe in the fairgrounds and Mr. Kaiser and what he's been doing to improve this fairgrounds through and with the Fair Board. They're moving ahead on a master plan, which for Rapid City, it's huge on how much this brings in for economic development. In fact, we had discussions with the Economic Development Director about agriculture, and that the mayor is also on board of moving this forward and moving agriculture forward on the top of his list as well. So we appreciate what the city has done by moving this and giving the Central States Fair $550,000. Also, John, the economic development with the events you could bring in with this are huge. Huge, because they needed more stalling to get the bigger events. So it also changes the dynamics a little bit of the fairgrounds, so they're gonna do bigger events with more stalling, more people, more economic drivers from that. That's gonna be huge for Pennington County rural people and city folk to benefit on both sides. So I think this is gonna be something huge for us, and that if they're paying for it, I'm with Mr. Buskerud. I think it's a positive. So we do have a motion on the floor by Commissioner LaCroy and second by Commissioner Hadcock. Ms.
If I may. I think the county has long wished for involvement by the city, Rapid City, into the Central States Fairground, and I think kudos should be given to Mr. Kaiser for going back to the city and asking them for vision funds and for the city council and approving those for this, which in my mind should always be a joint effort. And those of you that know me know that's very painful for me to say.
I was gonna
As I
say,
don't support the fair.
let's discuss this for a minute, Jules.
Very, very hard for me to say, but hopefully it's a step in the right direction that the city can help us with that. And again, kudos to John.
Thank you, Ms. Julie. Any other discussion? Commissioner Farabee?
The bottom line is it's 700, 800, 900,000 bucks is going to come out of the Pennington County taxpayers. Yeah, the loan is from Central States Fair, but taxpayers are going to pay that money back through the subsidy.
No, they're not, the Central States Fair is not asking for the county to put any money of the remainder of the project in. It is going to be paid by the Central States Fair, excuse me, John, didn't mean to touch you. Central States Fair Board, which technically is not tax money other than the expenses that the county pays to maintain our property.
Commissioner Farabee?
Madam Chair, we can play all the shell games we want. Bottom line is the Pennington County taxpayers have been subsidizing Central States Fair for lots of years. We'll continue to do so, so no matter with this pot of money or this pot of money, this pot of money, taxpayers are going to pay for it. I make a substitute motion that we postpone this for until next meeting. This is, I don't think we ought to be acting this quickly. Thank you.
Been a substitute motion. Is there a second? Is there a second? Motion dies of lack of second. Roll call, please, Ms. Carr.
Buskerud,
Aye.
Farabee,
No.
LaCroy,
Aye.
Hadcock.
Aye. Motion carries. Thank you.
Thank you.
And I'd like to say also with Julie, John Kaiser has worked very hard with the city and the vision funds to come up with where he's been on this project and where he's going on this project. I'll keep saying it's going to be huge for Pennington County. We get the building when we're done. That's also an asset, I believe, and Pennington County is subsidized by all taxpayer money. We make those decisions, and hopefully this is one of the positive decisions we make for the future for Pennington County and the fairgrounds. So I agree with Miss Julie. I think it's a positive for us, so thank you.
And if I may add on or subtract from, whichever, it's a huge deal for Rapid City. Those of us on the extremes of Pennington County don't see much benefit. Thank you.
Say that again, Commissioner Farabee?
So this is a huge deal for, for Rapid City, the business places in Rapid City, plus the sales tax. Pennington County doesn't get any sales tax. We operate pretty much solely on property tax. So yes, this is a big deal for Rapid City, but not so much for Pennington County. Thank you.
Commissioner Farabee, I'm going to disagree with you because this is total rural. This is totally outlining areas to bring the rural community and Rapid City together. So I totally disagree on that because you need to go to the fairgrounds. The people that are out there and participating are the outlining areas. And we are trying to join both the outlining and the city together in a positive way. And I think this is going to be a good way to do it. Plus, like you said, it's going to benefit Rapid City with economic development, but it'll be a win-win for city and county. Thank you. Items from the auditor, number 23.
Yes. Julie Pearson, Pennington County Auditor. Welcome to the 9:15 budget supplement hearing. What this is for is it's transferring another $1 million. This is the second $1 million coming from road and bridge funds to go into the capital projects fund for their support of their building project out at their property on 79. And this is the proper accounting process for this, and then it will be spent out of the capital projects fund for the highway building.
Do we have a motion, please? At the bottom here.
Move for approval.
Is a motion to approve the supplement to the 2017 Road and Bridge Fund in the amount of $1 million. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Moved by Mr. LaCroy, second by Mr. Buskerud. Any discussion? Roll call, please, Kara.
Buskerud,
Aye.
Farabee,
No.
LaCroy,
Aye.
Hadcock.
Aye. Motion carries. Number 24,
Thank you.
can we have a motion to continue, please? Till the March 21st.
Move to approve, continue this item to the March 21st meeting.
Second.
Yes, motion by Mr. LaCroy and second by Mr. Busker to continue. Any discussion? All in favor say,
Why
roll
we
call.
continue?
It's 24, the items from Sheriff, Health and Human Services, they are out of town
Oh, okay.
right now. Commissioner Farabee, if that's
All right.
okay?
Yep.
Thank you, sir. So there's been a motion by LaCroy and second by Buskerud. Roll call, please, Ms. Cara.
Buskerud,
Aye.
Farabee,
Yes.
LaCroy,
Aye.
Hadcock.
Aye. Motion carries. Number 25 is abatement applications. Shannon Richter, please.
Good morning, Commissioner. Shannon Rittberger, Director of Equalization. We are still working through the abatement requests that we typically do this time of year. The auditor has received all of these back from the local townships that you see there. The only reason in breaking those out into the 4 groups is she receives them from those local townships. The county commission ultimately has a final say on these anyways. If you have questions, I'll answer a question. Otherwise, I don't see why you couldn't just make a single motion on all of them.
Commission, would you like to do them all at once or do them 1, 2, 3, 4 today?
I suggest all 1 through 4.
Is that a motion?
Yes.
Okay. Mr. Farabee, to approve all at once?
Yeah, I have no problem.
Okay.
That'd be a second.
Any discussion on those, on the motion?
A second, I guess.
Okay. Motion by Mr. LaCroy, second by Mr. Farabee. Is there any discussion on the abatement applications 1 through 4? If not, Ms. Cara?
Buskerud,
Aye.
Farabee,
Yes.
LaCroy,
Aye.
Hadcock.
Aye, motion carries.
Thank you.
Thank you, Shannon. Mr. Buskerud, if you have, Commissioner Buskerud, if you ever need to speak, just say something on your, on your.
No, don't worry.
Well, sometimes I think I might have missed you or something on discussion, so I appreciate it, Mr. Buskerud.
I know how to interrupt.
Number 26, please.
Okay, Tom Wilsey from the Highway Department. Item 26A is our annual 2017 annual supplies bid award recommendations. On February 15th, we bid our annual supplies, and our recommendations are, I suppose I should read every one of them for the public. So as follows, our item 2017-01 aggregate materials. Item number 1, 3-inch ballast to Pete Lean and Sons of Rapid City. Item number 2, 1-inch base course aggregate material to both Western Construction Inc. and Pete Lean and Sons of Rapid City based on project locations. Item number 3, 3/4-inch base course aggregate material, Western Construction and Pete Lean and Sons of Rapid City based on locations. Item 4, 3/8-inch bituminous surface treatment aggregate material to Pete Lean and Sons of Rapid City. Item number 6, 3/4-inch gravel cushion aggregate material to Western Construction Inc. of Rapid City and Pete Lean and Sons of Rapid City based on locations. Item number 7, 3/4-inch gravel surfacing aggregate material to Western Construction Inc., Rapid City, South Dakota. Item number 8, the haul for materials to, there are 3 locations, up to 5 miles, up to 5 to 15 miles, and greater than 15 to Western Construction Inc. of Rapid City. AS 217-02 asphalt concrete composite award to Western Construction Inc. of Rapid City. AS 2017-3 asphalt maintenance materials award to J&J Asphalt of Rapid City. AS 2017 precast concrete pipe and bridge products award to Forterra Concrete Products Inc. of Rapid City. AS 2017-5 cutback and emulsified asphalt award to Hills Material, Rapid City, South Dakota. AS 2017-6 de-icing sand award to Western Construction Inc. of Rapid City. AS 2017-07 fencing award to M&M Fencing of Rapid City. AS 2017-8 guardrail award to Hilt Construction Inc. of Rapid City. AS 2017-9 magnesium chloride solution award to ZNS Dust Control Systems of Rapid City. AS 2017-10 seeding, fertilizing, mulching, and erosion control blanket award to M&M Fencing of Rapid City. AS 2017-11 timber bridge materials award to Wheeler Lumber LLC of Whitewood, South Dakota. And 2017-12 traffic control materials award to Newman Signs Inc. of Jamestown, North Dakota. The recommendations are made on basis of lowest bid complying with bid documents, and copies of the documents are on file at the Highway Department. Purchase of these items are figured in my 2017 budget. I'm requesting a motion to award the contracts as read.
Is there a motion, please?
So move.
Moved by Commissioner LaCroy. Is there a second?
Second.
Commissioner Farabee is the second. Any other discussion? Not? Roll call, please, Ms. Cara.
Buskerud,
Aye.
Farabee,
Yes.
LaCroy,
Aye.
Hadcock.
Aye. 26B,
Item B, authorization for letting of bridges BR 2017-1 bridge repairs on a bridge on Nemo Road and a bridge on Norris Peak Road. We're requesting authorization to bid rehabilitation of 2 structures on those 2 roads. These structures are double T structures. Some of the decking units have deteriorated to the extent that the Nemo Bridge is now weight limited. Our intention is to keep the traffic open during the construction and to bring these back to as new condition so that we can take the weight limits off. Nemo Road structure needs 12 of the 24 deck units replaced. Norris Peak Road needs 5 of the 24 deck units replaced. Also, we will clean and repaint the steel substructure units as there's considerable rust in these areas. I have included maps of this showing the location of these structures in the packet. I am requesting a motion to authorize the Highway Department to let bids for these projects for BR 2017-1, bridge repairs, 52-313-265 Nemo Road, and 52-319-268 Norris Peak Road. The monies for these are coming out of my budget because our other contract bids that we had a month and a half ago came in quite low, and we have money that we could use for these projects.
Nice. Do we have a motion, please?
So move.
Moved by Mr. Buskerud. I heard you, Buskerud. And second by Mr. LaCroy. Any discussion? Commissioner Farabee.
Approximate cost.
On these, we're estimating them for the two projects, probably less than $500,000 for both projects.
But equal split or?
Pardon?
But equal between the two or?
No, the Nemo Road will be more because there's more of the panels that we have to replace,
Roughly $500,000.
roughly.
Okay, thank you.
Any other discussion on that, Mr. Commissioner Farabee?
No, thank you.
Board, any other discussion? Ara, please.
Buskerud,
Aye.
Farabee,
Yes.
LaCroy,
Aye.
Hadcock.
Aye. Motion carries. Are those taxpayer dollars? Just kidding.
Big time.
I'm teasing you, Commissioner Farabee. Okay, we'll go to design and authorization of South Rochford Road.
I am, attached is a work order for the project EMBRF 64036 PSENS 00CL, South Rochford Road project. This is a project that's been going since 2004. This is for the design and plans preparation for grading, drainage, base course, and asphalt surfacing for 10.37 miles of roadway. It starts at Rapid Creek, goes south to the Deerfield Road. This is an earmark project that was authorized in 2004. I have talked to a couple of the new commissioners to try to get them some history on this, so. There's a lot of history with this because it went from an environmental assessment to an environmental impact statement and back to an environmental assessment.
Yeah.
So there's some questions on some of these sites, but basically the environmental stuff is done. The roadway section will be used in the design as a 28-foot wide asphalt top, 2 12-foot driving lanes and 2-foot shoulders, and will basically follow the existing alignment. Remaining funding from the project, from the earmark, is about $9.5 million, which includes our matching funds of about $1.86 million. This includes all design and construction monies in the earmark. County matching funds are contained in the balance for the highway reserve funds. I was requesting a motion to authorize the chairperson's signature on the work order for this project.
Is there a motion?
There has been a request that we have somebody from the DOT come next week to discuss this. That came from Mr. Farabee.
Okay.
I have no problem with that.
Hold on just a sec. Let's get a motion and then
Okay.
we can, thank you, Tom. Is there a motion?
For purpose of discussion, I'll make the motion to authorize the chairperson's signature for the work project.
Is there a second on the motion? For discussion?
I'll second it so we can talk about it. and
Thank you,
vote it
Mr.
down.
Busker. Okay. There's been a motion and a second. Discussion, please?
I make a substitute motion that we delay a decision until at least next meeting, so that we can have the federal highway person and somebody from DOT come and educate us on what's happened and what they see in the future. And part of that future is the bridge. The bridge is the biggest single thing. Somebody's going to get hurt on these days, and the correspondence, well, that's not part of the motion. Let's get the motion done first, then we'll talk about why I want to delay.
So the substitute is to delay till next meeting. Is there a second?
At least till next meeting.
Is there a second?
Second.
Second, motion by Commissioner Farabee, second by Commissioner Buskerud. Any discussion?
And I'd like the highway superintendent and I talked about, we need to get the federal person, whoever's most, in the most authoritative position to talk to us, and also from somebody in the most authoritative position from DOT, state DOT, to talk to us, so that we're all on the same page before we go launching off, spend a bunch of money.
So,
In that vein, that bridge, and Tom can correct me if I'm wrong, but the bridge ain't gonna get done this year, right?
That bridge has not been, the design team has not even been hired for it yet. So it's been delayed.
so Tom, what does is it gonna do anything if we delay this for 2 weeks?
Just delay it for 2 weeks.
Okay,
The bridge is another completely different project from this project. This project is only the roadway. Basically, this project starts at the bridge and goes south.
so the discussion is to bring the DOT, Commissioner Farabee here to discuss the bridge or the road?
Both.
They're both parts of the road there.
If we do the road, it'll be a road to nowhere. If the bridge is not there. Literally be a road to nowhere.
Tom?
This bridge, the bridge was supposed to have been designed this past year. As I said, the DOT has not signed any contract with anybody to do the design work. I found this out last week.
So what are we gonna have, I guess my bottom line is, what are we gonna have the people tell us that they're not doing the bridge, and we're just gonna delay this because we're saying we're not doing the bridge?
They made a comment that they will have to get a contract with a consultant to get the bridge design done. They haven't done that yet.
So just a question, do we need the bridge and the road to be done at the same time, or why aren't they?
Best would be to have the bridge done first, so that they could haul across that while they're doing the construction of the road. The bridge is paramount, we need to get it done.
That's the understanding I'm trying to get.
Yes.
Thank you, thank you, Tom.
The bridge has deteriorated and is deteriorating. I am a little concerned of the safety of the bridge.
Thank
It
you,
will
sir.
be inspected this next year, we'll find out.
Thank you. Any other discussion?
Madam Chair, I guess I'm, from my understanding on this project, we're looking at kicking it down the road a little bit more, and I understand why Mr. Farabee wants to do that, but from my understanding, from 2004, here we are 12 years, 13 years later.
Yes.
And the money's dwindling down, and if we don't do it, we pretty much get these environmental impact study was what ate away, we'd lose that right off the bat, our money we'd have to pay if we shut this down.
That's the way I understand it, yes.
Yeah, so we'd lose 1 point,
We would lose over $2 million.
yeah, so we'd have to come up. So I guess, I'm open to listening to what DOT has to say, but I think we're kind of kicking the can down the road. I think we need to get this going. I mean, that's 13 years is a little bit.
The change from an environmental assessment to an environmental impact statement is tremendous.
That upsets me right there, but I mean, it's.
It is a big change. It requires, I was amazed at what all it requires. Contacting all the tribes basically in the nation, find out if any of them have conflicts with this. And that was just one item out of several. And the study for flora and fauna was tripled.
Well,
So,
I'm
it's-
not that concerned with, some of it's good, but just the idea that it could, with the simple change of breaking down one lane, bringing it down and changing things around made it work.
Yeah, it made it work. We went from a 36-foot wide top to a 28-foot wide top. With that, they could avoid some of the archaeological sites, which is what made all the difference in the world.
Yeah.
So we're continuing this to the next meeting for more discussion. There was a substitute by Mr. Farabee and Mr. Buskerud. Are we ready to vote?
No, I have something to say.
Commissioner Buskerud, go for it.
I assume that Tom probably is not aware of my comments in that 2004 on this project, but I would like a traffic count for the next meeting that we're gonna have. Figure out how many $1 million a car this is gonna cost us.
I have a traffic count, I'll bring it then.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, I think it's just another example of what the federal government does to us. You gotta spend $10 million or you're gonna lose $1 million, and it's $10 million that's a waste. But we'll talk about that next time.
Thank you, Commissioner Buskerud. Commissioner Farabee?
If I can add on, if this isn't a classic case, textbook case of greed, I'll probably never see one. This is just a classic case of greed. Reaching somebody else's pocket for 10, 12 million, whatever it was that Daschle earmarked. Just horrible. The other thing I need to add on to this, and I don't know how we're going to approach this, but with that roughly 10 miles, about 1.5 miles of it doesn't belong to the United States of America anymore. So I don't know how we're going to handle that.
Talking about pace law?
I'm talking about pace law. Bottom line is we need to get that damn bridge fixed before somebody gets hurt. The bridge needs to be, I'm sure there's no way we can do it other than an act of Congress, get it done this year. But this time next year, we ought not to be sitting here without plans for that bridge.
I agree. This is one I agree.
Sooner or later, someone get hurt bad on that bridge.
Okay, board, we are going to have more discussion at the next meeting. Are we ready for Ms. Carr to take roll call? All right. Ms. Carr?
Buskerud,
Aye.
Farabee,
Yes.
LaCroy,
Aye.
Hadcock.
Aye. Motion carries.
Thank you.
Thank you for your time,
And,
Tom.
well, before we leave, who's going to write up a letter for the chair signature to get DOT here? And you said you could talk to the federal highway person, right?
I will talk to the federal highway people.
federal
And
highway.
I will also converse with the DOT.
And if they need my help on that, George, to bring them here, I'll help the highway department.
All right.
What'd I tell you about LaGray? I'm teasing. Okay. Do we need a 5-minute recess, board?
I think so.
Is there a motion?
We'll take a 5-minute break.
5-minute recess. Is there a second? Second by Buskerud. Ms. Cara, roll call?
Buskerud,
Aye.
Farabee,
Yes.
LaCroy,
Aye.
Hadcock.
Aye.
Thank
Be a
you.
motion to come out of recess, please?
So move.
Second.
Motion by LaCroy, second by Mr. Farabee. Kara?
Buskerud,
Yes.
Farabee,
Yes.
LaCroy,
Aye.
Hadcock.
Aye, motion carries. Next, a motion to go into a Board of Adjustment.
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Farabee, second by Mr. LaCroy. Kara?
Buskerud,
Aye.
Farabee,
Yes.
LaCroy,
Aye.
Hadcock.
Aye. Motion carries. We're in Board of Adjustment. Ms. Brittany?
Good morning, Brittany Molitor, Environment and Planning Supervisor. Item A is a application for a variance to Section 319B3 of the Pennington County zoning ordinance to allow a vacation home rental on a lot less than 1 acre in size. The current lot is .91 acres. It is zoned suburban residential district. It contains a single-family residence, on-site wastewater treatment system, carport, and there is special flood hazard area on the property. Previously, this was heard in front of the Board of Adjustment. There were issue with a small shed that was located on Forest Service lands. Since that time, the applicant has removed that shed from the Forest Service lands. I did receive an email and pictures from the applicant indicating such. In addition, I did receive an email from the United States Forest Service regarding the encroachment. They will, through a site visit, verify that the shed has been removed. In order for a variance to be determined, in order for the Board of Adjustment to determine that a variance criteria is met, there are 4 specific criteria.
Madam Chair, move denial.
There's a motion to deny. Is there a second?
Second.
Second for denial. Discussion, please. Ms.
If I
Brittany,
could,
you
I
could
believe the
finish, please.
applicant, no, I believe the applicant is in the audience,
Okay,
so
thank
I
you.
don't know if he would like to speak to it.
Would the applicant, the Delmar Melissa Nelson, like to come up?
I am Delmer Nelson. Got just a short statement to read so I don't forget anything.
Go ahead,
If you
sir.
like what I have to say, I wrote it, and if you don't like what I have to say, my wife wrote it.
Yes.
My name is Delmer Nelson. I and my wife own property at 12223 Reno Gulch Road. I also am a landowner in southeast South Dakota and pride myself on being a good steward of the land and also a good and respectful neighbor. What I'm asking for is a variance of less than 1 acre for a part-time vacation rental on my property outside of Hill City in a sparsely populated area. It is .91 acres, almost an acre, but what I am taking responsibility for is by 4 more acres than that. I have cleaned a large area of Forest Service dead and down trees and brush in an effort to beautify the area and reduce the risk of an out-of-control fire to protect my property as well as my neighbors. As a farmer, I am always aware of noxious weeds and do my best to control them. I plan to work hard to gain the support and respect of my neighbors and the entire Reno Gulch area. In fact, 3 of my close neighbors use my property as a second driveway for their convenience. I have been notified by the Forest Service that a wooden box used by the prior owner was encroaching Forest Service lands by 2 feet, and after receiving that notice, I removed it the next day. I have now been given the all clear by them, and a thank you for my cooperation and hard work. If I am granted this variance, I plan to pursue a conditional use permit for a vacation rental to rent part-time during the summer months when my family is not using it, to help pay for property and expenses that go with it. We plan on abiding strictly by the rules set forth by the permit. I feel that we are benefiting Hill City, which seems to have a shortage of private cabins to stay in, and our guests will surely support the restaurants and businesses in and around the area. We feel that using our property for a vacation rental will be far more clean, safe, and quieter than renting it monthly, which does not have the same control as we can enforce on a daily rental. Please consider this variance on an individual basis, as it is so close to 1 acre minimum and the benefits outweigh the detriments. That's all I have.
Thank you, Mr. Nelson. Any questions for Mr. Nelson? Board?
Madam Chair, I don't really have any questions, though. I know the commission, prior to me being on board, went through a big study on vacation home rentals, and some of the stuff I don't agree with, but that's the decision they made. The under 1 acre, I understand, is what they come up with as the limit. I support you, Delmar, but I have the feeling that it's gonna go down. But, I think it's unfair that a person works hard and has property with just barely under 1 acre and wants to subsidize and use both properties. I think that might not have been in full consideration when it was all come through.
Thank you, Commissioner LaCroy. Any other discussion?
Well, certainly I agree with what Commissioner LaCroy was saying, but since we're regulated the line was drawn at 1 acre, and last meeting, we held that line. And so we certainly need to hold the line, that same line again this meeting.
Thank you, Commissioner Farabee. Any other discussion? Not, Kara, please.
So your motion is to deny, right?
To deny.
Motion is to deny.
So Buskerud,
Aye.
Farabee,
Yes.
LaCroy,
No.
and Hadcock.
Aye. Motion carries.
No, it's only three.
It only takes two. Takes two to deny.
Oh, two to deny.
Takes two to deny.
And that was the motion.
The motion was to deny, and it takes, by law, it takes two to it takes four to affirm, therefore it takes two to deny.
So it carried.
Yes,
3-2.
That's what I said.
yes.
To deny.
Yes.
Yes, yes, sir. Okay. B is Black Hills Raptor Center.
Just
Thank
one
you.
second here, please. PJ Conover, Director of Planning Department. Item B is variance 1704 to reduce the minimum required lot size from 40 acres to 5.06 in the general agriculture district. These properties have been, this property has been before you several times, mainly for a conditional use permit to allow the Black Hills Raptor Center on the proposed subdivision of the lot. So what the applicants and the landowners and the agents are doing is following through with some of the conditions of approval of that conditional use permit. So this specific request is for the lot that's outlined in blue, which would be about 5 acres, and they're looking for a lot size variance. It's zoned general agriculture, which requires 40 acres. This was routed through the interdepartmental review, and no items of concern came back that won't be addressed in the subdivision platting process. There are 4 items that the Board of Commissioners need to that take into consideration for variance. Staff has verified through a site visit that there's no particular physical condition which warrants the approval of this variance. However, conditional use permit 1631 was approved under the current zoning, which is general agriculture, and which is what the applicants and landowners are looking to maintain. Also, strict application of the zoning ordinance would require the proposed subdivision to meet the 40-acre minimum. It's not able to, and if the variance does fail, it would most likely then look at a rezone to low-density residential. Granting the variance for this lot size does not appear to be contrary to the public interest, as their request is in harmony with the surrounding land use and zoning. Again, there was a conditional use permit on this property approved in 2016, and the applicants and agents are asking to maintain the current zoning under which conditional use permit 1631 was approved. If the Board of Adjustment approves variance 1704, staff does not recommend any conditions be included, as any conditions or requirements will be addressed through the platting process.
Thank you, PJ. Is there a
You're welcome.
motion?
That'd be
I'll make a motion to approve the variance.
second.
Buskerud for approval and LaCroy for the second. Any discussion by the board?
Yeah, usually, as you know, I'm against variances, but I guess I'd rather see this remain ag than I would change it into some sort of residential or highway service or something like that.
Thank you, Mr. Buskerud. Any other discussion?
Madam Chair, tagging onto that, at what point in time will this area be rezoned to highway service or commercial or whatever?
PJ Conover, please, our planning director.
Yeah, if anybody requests that, right now the future land use is limited agriculture. Also, it could possibly be recommended for rezone through the comprehensive plan amendment if enough of the public requests it.
Which makes sense because it is arterial, so I understand what Commissioner Farabee is saying for the
Yep.
future of this land.
So even this rezone could get rezoned again to something more appropriate through the comprehensive plan process.
Is this squarely in the 3 Mile Rapid Cities
No,
jurisdiction?
no,
It's not?
no, platting would be through us.
They don't have 3 Mile jurisdiction?
They do have a 3-mile jurisdiction, not on this property.
It's further out than the 3 miles.
Correct.
That's what he's saying, George. Okay, any other discussion? Kara?
Buskerud,
Aye.
Farabee,
No.
LaCroy,
Aye.
Hadcock.
Aye.
3-1.
The motion carries.
No,
Nope, you
3 to
need
1.
4.
No, it does not.
Okay,
You need 4 votes.
okay, motion fails. C is the variance Black Hills Raptor Center, Davis Engineering. Again,
Item C is variance 1705 for Black Hills Raptor Center. Davis Engineering is the agent to reduce the minimum required lot size from 40 acres to 23 acres. This is similar in the request taking up the subject property that was brought up with the last variance, but it is to request a lot size variance for the lot that's outlined in red. It is currently zoned general agriculture. It would go down to 23 acres, and the applicant and agents are asking that it be allowed a lot size variance for 23 acres to remain general agriculture in this area. The applicant has given up, I don't know how it's working out, but they're looking to subdivide that 5 acres off for the Black Hills Raptor Center. There is one correction on page 3 of 6 of the staff report under 4B, where it says that this property is vacant of any structures. That's incorrect. It actually, if you refer back to number 3 on page 2, it has a single-family residence. Also, there is some floodplain on the property in northeast corner. It only takes up 0.32 acres of the total lot. Again, similar to the last variance on the parent parcel, staff has verified through a site visit that there's no reason or physical condition to warrant the approval of the lot size variance. This lot size variance would not grant a use which is otherwise excluded in general agriculture. This was the subject property that was involved in the conditional use permit process for 1631 for the Black Hills Raptor Center, and the applicants and agents are looking to maintain that zoning designation. A strict application of the zoning ordinance will require the proposed subdivision to meet the 40-acre minimum. The applicant and agents are just asking to maintain the current zoning as it appears to be in harmony with the surrounding land use and zoning. So if the Board of Adjustment approves variance 1705, staff does not recommend any conditions be included, as any concerns or requirements will be addressed through the planning process. One thing I didn't say before is landowner, applicants, and the agents are in the audience.
thank you. Is there a motion?
Move for approval.
Moved by LaCroy, second by, I'll second it for discussion. Do the applicants like to come up and visit about their property, please? State your name, sir.
On the previous one, we weren't asked to come up. There was nobody said anything about, is there any comment from the audience or anything? So I don't know if we can go back and take a look at this one and open that one back up again or not, but we didn't really have an opportunity to come up. I guess I could have just walked up here, but I didn't.
No,
so.
I totally apologize on
That's okay.
that one, sir.
Anyway, what we're trying to do out here is, this is a raptor center with wild birds, and we want to get them far enough out from town so there's no noise, pollution, things like that. That's where they ought to be, is out there. But we don't think it's appropriate to go out there and create a commercial site or a highway service site or something, because if we do, the guy that has the balance or the guy next to him on to the east may sell the next site to a gas station, and then all of a sudden we're creating all kinds of commercial use out there. Maybe Box Elder would like to see that, I don't know. But our idea was to not create a movement to go out there and start creating commercial properties. We want to put the bird sanctuary there, but leave it as agriculture. So if somebody does come in adjacent and wants to put in a gas station or something similar, they have to go through the same process we did, a conditional use permit and the whole works, to explain everything they're going to be doing, and then you can accept it or not accept it. So that's the reason we're doing what we're doing, okay?
So if you didn't do a change or a variance, you need to put it as, it won't be ag anymore, it will have to be highway service or some kind of commercial property in order for this bird sanctuary to be there?
Yes.
And you wouldn't have to come through this variance?
No.
Okay.
Well, we have to do a rezone, right?
Rezone, but
Yeah, we
not,
would do
you
a
wouldn't have to
rezone, but
go
not a
through
variance, so.
Board of Adjustment.
And I think that would be wrong, because then we're creating a highway service, and like I said, that opens the door. It's setting a precedent for all kinds of things to happen out there, and I don't think the people that live out there want that to happen.
Thank you, sir.
So
Discussion from the board, any questions?
there's two other
Madam Chairman,
people here if they want to talk.
Commissioner Buskerud, please.
substitute motion to continue this for 2 weeks.
Substitute to continue. I'll second that for discussion.
The only thing I have to say is, it'd be nice to consider it with all 5 commissioners present.
Thank you, Mr. Buskerud.
I got-
Any discussion?
Madam Chair, I got a question.
Commissioner LaCroy?
How would the process be if we could go back, reconsider item B, 27B? They're both related to the same property.
Let's do C, Commissioner LaCroy, and then we'll go to B.
I don't
Thank
want
you,
to
sir.
ask you that
Okay.
now, though.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. We can do that after this motion. So there's been a motion to continue. Any discussion on the motion to continue? If not, let's do roll call.
Buskerud,
Aye.
Farabee,
No.
LaCroy,
Aye.
Hadcock,
Aye. Motion fail again? So we're back to the
No,
original motion.
Passed, it was a motion to continue, and it got 3 votes.
3 out of 5 is a majority.
What wasn't the last one in
The
B?
last one was on a variance. This is not on a variance.
Right.
This is a
It's a
variance.
motion to continue.
This is a variance, Commissioner.
To continue, though.
It's not whether to grant the variance or not. It's a motion to continue this for 2 weeks, which is a different story.
Okay.
Procedural thing.
Is there a objection to that?
No, the majority voted.
Okay, so we will
And in
continue.
answer to the other question, yes, we can have a motion to reconsider, but it has to be by a member of the winning side, and that would be Commissioner Farabee.
Okay, so let's do C first. Thank you, Mr. Buskerud. Let's vote on C on continuance, Ms. Cara?
We did.
Yeah.
We did.
Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't hear us continue except that, okay. So B would be a reconsider. Commissioner Farabee?
We got ourselves in a parliamentary box. Even if I did make a motion, there's no seconder. So,
Well, we can second you. Can we second him if he makes the motion, if he rescinds?
it has to be
or
the prevailing party,
reconsiders?
and it was a prevailing party of one.
My understanding is the motion has to be made by the prevailing party. The second does not. But, I'm not a parliamentarian.
We're going back to B? Is that what we're going back to?
Well, either way,
We're
no.
reconsidering item B, Ms. Cara.
Okay.
So, Mr. Farabee, are you wanting to reconsider? That's the question.
No.
Okay, so we are not reconsidering B. So we are now needing a motion to come out of Board of Adjustment.
So moved.
Moved by Commissioner Farabee,
Second.
second by Mr. Buskerud. Do we have a second on the Board of
Yes,
Adjustment?
second.
Thank you,
Yes.
Mr. Buskerud.
Okay. Buskerud,
Aye.
Farabee,
Aye.
LaCroy,
Aye.
Hadcock.
Aye. Next, we are on the consent calendar for the Planning Department. Mr. P.J. Conover, please.
The Board of Commissioners uses the consent agenda to act on non-controversial and routine planning and zoning items quickly. The consent agenda is acted upon by one motion and vote of the board. Items may be removed from the consent agenda and placed on the regular agenda at the request of a board member or a citizen. The consent agenda for planning and zoning contains the following items. Item D, second reading of rezone 1702 and comprehensive plan amendment 1702 for Laura Pankratz. Ken Nash is the agent and approval has been recommended. Item E, minor plat 1701 and subdivision regulation variance 1701 for Deborah Munyon, and approval has been recommended. Item F, first reading and public hearing of rezone 1703 and comprehensive plan amendment 1703 for Tyler Shad, Renner Associates as the agent. Recommendation is to continue to the March 21st, 2017 Board of Commissioners meeting. Item G, minor plat 1702 and subdivision regulation variance 1702 for Dakota Land and Cattle Company, and approval has been recommended. Item H, minor plat 1703 and subdivision regulation variance 1703 for William and McKaylee Parsons, and approval has been recommended for withdrawal. Item I, first reading and public hearing of ordinance amendment 1603, and it's been recommended to be continued to the March 21st, 2017 Board of Commissioners meeting.
Thank you. Is there any items from the public they wish to remove? Anyone from the public on consent? If not, from the board?
H.
H. Anyone else for discussion on any of the items on consent? If not, a motion to approve the consent calendar with exclusion of item H.
So moved.
That's my motion.
Yep,
Motion
second.
by Buschrood and second by Mr. LaCroy. Any discussion? Not? Cara, please.
Buschrood? Buschrood?
Aye.
Farabee?
Yes.
LaCroy?
Aye.
Hadcock?
Aye, motion carries. Item H, Commissioner Farabee.
There's probably an explanation, but, and I guess I'd like to hear it, if there is one. Last meeting, we denied the lot size variance. And the very next week, the applicant wound up on the planning commission to rezone. Yes, I'd like to know why, what would a rezone do?
Kelsey?
Cassie Bolstead, Assistant Planning Director. He wasn't on the Planning Commission agenda to rezone. He was on the Planning Commission agenda to finish his plating process with a minor plat and a subdivision regulations variance. He came in the morning of the Planning Commission meeting and has opted to stop the process. He's going to keep it as one lot and focus on the property as it is today for right now.
But my question is, what would a rezone do? We, the board, denied the lot size variance. So that's one lot.
No, actually, he
We
was breaking
ruled-
it. Commissioner Farabee, hold on just a sec. He was breaking it into 3, wasn't it?
We ruled that it'll stay one lot. So what would a rezone do?
So Kelsey, can you say what you just said again, so he understands that?
Yes. He actually had gotten approval of a layout plat to subdivide it into 3 lots. He then got denied for the lot size variance, which would have allowed it to stay limited agriculture district. So the rezone, had he continued with the platting process, would have brought it into the proper zoning district for what it needed to be for the lot sizes that he was creating.
So what's he doing today?
Nothing. He's chosen to pull all of his applications. He's stopping the platting process.
And he's going to leave it the 10 acres?
Yep, he's going to leave it as one lot, no, not change anything.
Does that make sense? He's not doing the changes, Commissioner Farabee. Last week, we decided that, this board decided that the 10 acres is what we wanted out there. Now he believes that he's going to leave it 10 acres.
That's, and this motion is to withdraw, right?
Yes.
So,
But this opens up the discussion, like I say, I voted against the layout plat because that's leading them down the path. I was firmly convinced at that time as one lot. We decided, 3 of us decided that's one lot. End of story. You can rezone, come in for rezone all you want. It's not going to get you anywhere. It's going to stay one lot until this board changes, says otherwise.
And that's what she's saying to you, Commissioner Farabee.
But why did they come in for rezone?
He didn't come in for a rezone. There was never a rezone on the table.
No.
It was a minor
Lot
plat.
size variances on lots, Commissioner Farabee.
The planning commission packet, I don't have it with me, but it very clearly said this is a rezone. So anyway, end of story. Thank you.
Okay, is there a motion?
motion to approve, approval recommended for withdrawal.
Second.
Applicants.
There's a second by Mr. Farabee, first by Mr. LaCroy. Any other discussion? Ms. Cara?
Buschrood?
Hey,
Farabee?
Yes.
LaCroy?
Aye.
Hadcock?
Aye. Motion carries. Now we're on non-consent agenda. Am I correct?
Just a minute.
Number H. Didn't we just talk about H?
Yes, we just talked about it.
Okay.
We're on J.
We're on non-consent.
Should be on J.
Okay, item J is vacation of easement VE 1701 to vacate 50 feet of an existing no-access easement along Nemo Road on the interior of Lot 2 of Colesville subdivision. At the March 7th, 2017 Planning Commission meeting, they did approve this request with the addition of a condition that the applicant get approval from the Board of Commissioners for a second approach. The current conditions are, this property is 12 acres. It's zone limited agriculture district. It was just subdivided and the plat was recorded at the end of 2016. Current access is off of Nemo Road via a 66-foot wide public access easement. This is a photo of the current access easement right now.
Ms. Brittany, just a question.
Sure.
Since are they together, J is, or do we need to do them separate for the easement and the approach? Can we discuss them both at the same time, or they're two different motions?
They're two different motions. One of the conditions that the Planning Commission did add was that the applicant get approval from the Board of Commissioners. So if you guys do concur with the Planning Commission's recommendation for approval with that additional
approach
or condition, then he would come at a later time in the meeting and then get approval for that approach to meet that condition.
Thank you, Ms. Brittany.
Madam Chair,
Commissioner LaCroy?
I'll make that recommendation of the Planning Commission for approval with the stipulations.
Been a motion. Is there a second? Second for discussion by Hadcock. Discussion?
Madam Chair, George.
Go ahead.
Commissioner LaCroy, you have the floor.
I'm just following, there was some heavy discussion during the Planning Commission meeting on this. That's why, out of respect for the Planning Commission, I'm presenting what their approval was, they thought on it.
Thank you, Commissioner LaCroy. Any other discussion?
Madam Chair, this is another one of those larger issues, like last meeting on the lot size variance. We talked about subdividing a subdivision. In this case, we're talking about how many primary accesses do we have off of a busy road? So if we grant, let me back up. I don't know how many feet it is, but
50.
The total no access easement is several hundred feet. I don't know how many, but when that area was platted or laid out, or whatever word you want to use, planned, there's no access easement. So now we're going to go back and take away part of that 200, 500, how long is that?
I think it's about a little over 500, 520.
Okay, so we got 500 feet that you're tooling along at 50 mile an hour, and I think that's the speed limit, 50, 55 on a busy road, and traffic count is like, 1,700, something like that? So a busy road. So right now, you've got 500 feet, you don't have to worry about somebody pulling out in front of you or slowing down to turn off the road. So we do this one, this is only one. Where do we stop? As that area gets developed, where do we stop with approaches? Can we approach every lot? We need to decide, before we decide this individual issue, are we going to go ahead and just set aside no access easements in general? This is only 50 feet, so no big deal. What about the next one? And the next one, the next one? And virtually guaranteed there'll be more. We need to decide that question first. Do no access easements mean what the hell they say they mean? Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Farabee. Can the staff, you guys recommended denial on this, and then the Planning Commission recommended approval?
Yes, I recommended denial based on the county highways comments. The county highways comments were, I feel the applicant should use the existing public access easement that is on this property. An additional approach to a highway can affect and reduce safety. Any additional approaches must be approved by the county commission.
So,
their comments.
Mr. LaCroy, yours was to take the recommendation off the
Planning
planning.
Commission.
Okay, and they recommended denial or approval?
Approval.
Approval.
Okay.
So a vote would be to approve it, yes, vote would be to approve it, no vote would be down.
Okay. So does the board understand that if you vote yes, it means you're good with the easement? If you vote no, you don't believe the easement should be there? Ms. Cara?
No, just hold it.
The
Hold
eas-
it.
the easement's
Busker.
there. The no access easement's there, and we're going to break that if we vote in favor.
Yes.
That's what I said.
If you want to keep the easement, it's a no vote, correct, George?
Correct?
Yep.
Correct,
That's what I thought.
Okay.
correct.
Okay, ready? Buskerud,
No.
Farabee,
No.
LaCroy,
No.
Hadcock.
No. Motion carries.
And I guess there was somebody who wanted to talk, and I apologize for not seeing them, but we should let him talk, I guess.
Come on up, sir.
Yeah, I mean, it's, I guess it's, I guess the only reason that we're asking for the access, I mean, it will be cheaper for the road, because it's going down a gully, and it goes up a hill, the current access. And, I took some pictures of it, it just means that, unless you have four-wheel drive, you won't have access to the house all winter long, that's all. And I mean, I know that if you looked at the pictures of the area, it is, and I mean, there are areas on Nemo Road that are very bad. I mean, I see them, where there's like four accesses within 50 feet, and the road is going like this, and I can see, but this is, as far as line of sight, it's a very, you can see a long ways either direction. It seems like if you were going to put an easement or an access, it would be at least a very good place for what it's, one of the straighter lines of road in the whole road.
And you're Mr. Grigg?
I'm Mr. Gregg, yeah.
Sorry, Mr. Grigg.
Yeah, I'm just, it's just, it will be people are going to have to hike into our house. It's 12 acres. It's not like a 1 acre lot with a driveway.
Right.
I don't know.
Madam Chair, he makes the point for us. This is one of the few places where people can pass. This is, Nemo Road there's not very many passing places, and a fairly long stretch of straight road
Right.
is where people are going to pass. And so if you put a bunch of approaches, there goes the passing.
Well, if you look at where the access is, within that access, there is, I don't know. I don't know if that's really going to cut into, I mean, one car leaving twice a day, and there are accesses on the other side of the road. I mean, it's not like, I mean, there is traffic, but there are driveways, other driveways coming in. I don't know if we're going to make, I doubt that we're going to make or break somebody's ability to pass, unless they're coming in, the once a day when we come in and out.
Madam Chair, once again, sir, the issue is, do we take that 500 feet, that's no access, do we start chopping it up? And
That 500 feet, well, I mean, it's all on our property. We don't need 3 accesses.
Okay. There has been a vote, unless there's a reconsideration. And I don't think, it's my opinion that every non-access easement goes through the board. I don't think we should take a reconsideration on, should we not be doing access easements or non-access easements? That's on an individual basis. I believe when I look at something, it's on an individual basis. It's not because the whole is in one. So we are on item K. And that would be the MS4 stormwater report, please.
No.
Item K is the first reading and public hearing of rezone 1701 and comprehensive plan amendment 1701 for Jimmy and Alice D. High. And this item was heard before you at the last planning commission meeting. The motion that was made at that Board of Commissioners meeting was moved by LaCroy and seconded by DeSanto to approve the rezone and comp plan amendment, but there was a substitute motion moved by Farabee and seconded by Buskerud to postpone this item to the March 7th, 2017 Board of Commissioners meeting with Commissioner Farabee to help with mediation, and that motion carried unanimously on a roll call vote. It's my understanding that the neighbors and the DHIs were to try to meet to come up with some sort of agreement. I have not heard if any sort of meeting took place or not. I know Mr. DeHi is in the audience today, so I don't know where they sit on that.
Sir, would you like to come up before I hopefully don't forget another person in the audience? I apologize, folks, if any time you need to raise your hand and be accounted, so I apologize, I didn't have the name on my agenda here, so.
Was that permission next meeting to bring some tomatoes or?
Only if they throw them at you, George. Sir, state your name, please.
Yeah, Jim DeHi, I'm one of the applicants along with my wife Alice. We did meet, and please interject Commissioner Farabee because you were there as well. Myself, Jeremy and Laura Dean and Keith Hayes, along with Dan Richter, Commissioner Farabee, met on Saturday in Hill City. Discussed some issues that we'd already kind of hashed out, but we did more of a face-to-face. Some of the issues we brought up is that obviously, and we've already covered some of this stuff, but the trends in the area, the fact that our property is on a major arterial road, and the fact that it's a lot of that area has already been commercially zoned. We brought up the privacy fence again, and that we're willing to work with them to put some type of buffer between us and the Deans, which is the property located right directly behind us to the north. What we didn't know is a lot of the past grievances between the neighbors in the area, and that's where a lot of the hard feelings have been. And that's, I think, a lot of the trust issue, and a lot of the things that they brought up is we're kind of stepping on a wasp nest, so to speak, in that area. Another thing that we brought up was the property rights issue, that as long as we don't infringe on their property, that we felt, given the nature in the area, that we felt that we should be able to do what we want with our property as long as it, like I said, doesn't infringe with theirs. Do you have anything to add there, Commissioner?
Questions, Commissioner Farabee?
I'll just say that it was a peaceful meeting and obviously going to continue to disagree, but I think that the other folks realize that private property rights is probably prevail, and so I'll be voting yes, of course.
Thank you, Commissioner Farabee. Board, any other questions? Mr. Buskerud, Commissioner LaCroy?
No.
Do we have a motion?
Well, I have a little
Go ahead, Commissioner
different
Buskerud.
opinion of personal property rights. Yes, if you own the property, you absolutely, of course, have rights to it. The neighbors have property rights too, and you have to balance what's going on one piece of property versus what the consequences are to the other property around it. And it's hard to tell in some of these instances, so that's all I have to say.
Thank you, Commissioner Buskerud. Do we have a motion?
Move for approval.
Moved by LaCroy. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Farabee. Any other discussion, Board? Any other discussion? If not, roll call, please.
Buskerud,
Aye.
Farabee,
Yes.
LaCroy,
Aye.
Adcock. Aye. Motion carries. Thank you for your help on that, Commissioner Farabee.
Welcome.
That's the end of the non-planning consent agenda. We are on number 28, Board. And that-
No, two more items. L and M, ma'am.
For some reason, it's not on my paper.
It's Al.
I move
Sorry.
that you're ready for adjournment, is that what you're?
L, please.
Item L is first reading and public hearing of ordinance amendment 1602. This is essentially the alternative energy ordinance. There was a committee that was appointed, met, Commissioner Hadcock was part of these meetings. This was before the Planning Commission for some time, and they kind of vetted this pretty thoroughly. Had a guest speaker actually on speakerphone from Pier, Mr. Steve Wegman, who has been working in this field for, I think, about 30 years, if I'm correct. Commissioner LaCroy, I can't remember, but.
Long time.
Yeah, long time. They Pennington County has always had a wind energy ordinance. We had heard that a company wanted to come in and put a solar farm in the county. So we had looked at possibly redoing the ordinance and adding in a solar ordinance. With that, a moratorium was placed on alternative energy permits. The committee has proposed some changes. The Planning Commission proposed some changes, and what you see, except for the very last exhibit, is the most current copy that we have. Still working with Rapid City Regional and their GIS staff to get an appropriate map to show their Class D airspace. Essentially, why there are so many different sections involved in this is because all the zoning districts have to be updated to allow for the alternative energy ordinance as either a conditional use permit or permitted use. One big change that the Planning Commission did make that was different from what the committee had made was on page 41 of 51 under the utility scale energy systems. That's table 2. The setbacks for most of those used to be 1.1 times the system height. Some of the concern was if you have a 300-foot tower and it's top of a spinning blade and it gets ice on it, it could throw ice, a considerable distance. And that was part of the reason why the Planning Commission had asked Mr. Wegman to kind of weigh in on what could happen. So they had determined that 1.5 times the system height or 1,000 feet, whichever is greater, would be most appropriate in that table only.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
Any questions from the board? Do we have a motion?
I'm looking for,
I'll make a motion to approve the first reading of ordinance amendment OA 16-02.
Motion by Mr. Buschert, is there a second?
second.
Second by Mr. LaCroy. Any discussion? Mr. Farabee?
I haven't digested this thoroughly, but one of my questions, and maybe it's addressed in here, is the 3 mile control from Rapid City. Is that addressed in here?
Setbacks for border of incorporated municipalities is 1 mile, table 2, page 41 of 51.
That's setbacks, but does it talk about, in that 3 mile, let's say somebody's wanting to have a wind energy or a solar energy, whatever, within 3 miles, can Rapid City veto it?
It would depend on where in that 3 miles. If it's closer to the airports, of course, there's a much larger setback of 3 miles, and that's the couple cells down from the one I just read for you, and it's the border of the incorporated cities, so 1 mile out. If anything falls within the plating buffer for any municipality or town that we work with, we always ask them to comment if a request is made.
Madam Chair, one other,
Mr. Farabee?
2 different places it talks on page 30 and at 47, it talks about it as unlawful for any person to construct, so on and so forth. Is that a crime?
I'm sorry, what do you prefer, what are you looking at, sir?
Are you talking about violation?
On page 30 and 47, it talks about violation.
30.
One place it says violation, other place it says violations. They both say about the same thing, it's unlawful for any person to construct, so on and so forth. Is that a crime?
Not being a lawyer, I would leave that up to State's Attorney's Office to define, sir.
I would suggest that that language be a lot more definitive than just unlawful.
So
Commissioner, Chair? Do we have a proposal of what the language may be?
Mr. Farabee, would you like to change the word unlawful to a different word, sir?
Well, I'd have to have some time to come up with some wording. But to me, that's very sloppy. Well, I shouldn't use the word sloppy. It's not very definitive.
This is first reading, so we do have time for Commissioner Farabee to bring more questions too, and then maybe by the next meeting, maybe email the planning department on some of your suggestions, Mr. Farabee, Commissioner Farabee, if that's okay? Because that's a lot to read, and I totally understand what you're saying.
And the other comment I'd have, I guess I've I'm hung up on a sovereign state, 66 counties in this sovereign state, and all of us that aren't in a municipality should be treated the same. So if I cross the line into Custer County or Lawrence County, should expect kind of the same rules within the borders of a sovereign state, and thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Farabee.
Mr. Chair?
Any other discussion? PJ Conover?
Our staff reports are due the Wednesday before the meeting, so if we already hear back from Commissioner Farabee, we'd like it by that Wednesday, the Wednesday before the meeting, so we can address them in the staff reports.
That'd be fine. Thank you, PJ.
And I would suggest that our state's attorney probably look at the language and suggest something as well.
Yep.
Okay, thank you.
That smile was yes. He wasn't shaking his head, but.
I was excited to see what you'd come up with.
Okay, Cara.
State's attorney has looked at the
Roll call
ordinance.
vote, guys. Roll call vote.
Buskerud,
Aye.
Farabee,
No.
LaCroy,
Aye.
Hadcock.
Aye. Motion carries.
And you will rent us a boxing glove so we can come up with.
I'm sure you'll do just fine, Commissioner Farabee. Just one point, if I could, on that ordinance. The committees took about 6 months to come up with that ordinance, and I'd like to thank all the committee members and the planning staff for taking their time to get that done. We did hear many different discussions from the public, from professionals, to come up with this ordinance. We believed, and I also see the state is looking into some of these rules and regs as well, so it's not just Pennington County to move alternative energy, so it's regulated to a certain safety factor, so I appreciate everybody on that board that was with us getting this done. Again, it took us about 6 months, and I thank everybody for their time on that. We are on item M.
Item M is the MS4 annual report. Every year, we have to submit an annual report to the state of South Dakota regarding our NPDES permit for our separate small storm sewer systems. The predominant areas is Rapid Valley, Universal Drive, and Colonial Pine Hills. This year, I did not update the stormwater plan to add in with this report because we do have a committee meeting right now, and that is doing some updates to the construction, erosion, sediment control, and stormwater. So I felt like until that committee makes its recommendations, we can update the stormwater plan at that time. So this is just the report of what we did this past year. So if there's any questions, I do know I need to change a date on the letterhead, but.
Okay, do we have a motion first, please?
Move, you need acknowledgement motions, what you need?
Motion to approve the annual MS4 stormwater report and
Right, and a-
stormwater management plan.
And approve the chair signature for submittal to the state.
Motion by Hadcock, second by LaCroy. Any discussion, board?
I'll make a substitute motion that we delay this and postpone it until next meeting. I've got a couple of items of concern.
Is there a second to postpone this? Is there a second? If not, motion fails for lack of second. Commissioner Farabee, if you could ask your questions.
On page 1, it's about 3 up from the bottom. It says a table has been developed and is attached, and that's for identifying pollutants of concern, and maybe my packet's just not complete, but I can't find the attachment.
Do you
Oh, it isn't in
understand?
there. Yes.
Commissioner Farabee, or Commissioner Brittany, please.
Yes, it isn't attached. I can certainly get you a copy. It is on the website in our stormwater plan that's been available since last year.
Okay, thank you.
So,
Other questions, Commissioner Farabee?
But it will be submitted with the report to the state.
well, Madam Chair, my substitute motion was to postpone it so I could see it, and we're going to vote for it before I see what's in it. Second thing, on page 11, says, on the, page 11 on the right-hand column, number 3, says ordinance enforcement has received numerous complaints regarding on-site wastewater treatment systems. I think we have a right to know what numerous is and know what those specific complaints are.
Ms. Brittany?
Typically, the state doesn't require us to submit that detailed information. They've never asked for it. When they look over this report, they'll do comments back of things that they need more information on, and that's pretty typical. I mean, we have complaints. You are always more than welcome to ask our office or come up to our office to get those.
Commissioner Farabee?
This was presented to us to pass along with the chair's signature. I think we have a right to know how many is numerous and what the complaints are.
And you have been invited into their office, Mr. Farabee, if you'd like to look into that. Any other questions? Commissioner Farabee? If not, any other discussion by the board? Any other discussion? Commissioner?
No, it's just, we're voting on the original motion because there was no second to the.
Right, yes,
Okay,
sir.
that's-
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Okay. Ms. Cara?
Buskerud,
Aye.
Farabee,
No?
LaCroy,
Aye.
Hadcock.
Aye. Motion carries.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Brittany. Okay, now we on 28. Request for approval of second approach. Would that be you, Ms. Brittany, or Mr. Peasy?
Actually, the applicant for that left. Mr. Gregg was the person requesting that, and since the vacation of easement, that 50 feet was denied, I don't believe that his request is valid at this
So
point.
do we have a postpone indefinitely on this, or a table?
The request is void.
So we want to postpone indefinitely?
Well, it's void.
Same thing. Is there a motion?
But I'd like to, since the Assistant Superintendent is here, I'd like to have him give us his view of that layout out there on Nemo Road.
The approach?
Yeah.
Okay.
I think they're gone.
He's talking about Mark Schock,
Oh,
Yeah.
Mark.
and then we can do a motion if we could after that, please.
Mark Schock, Pennington County Highway. Out here on Nemo Road, that approach, the bottom line is the county highway department does not have authority to grant second approaches, other than in a large agriculture parcels. So therefore, we've been sending those requests to the board. I know there's been a lot of them. I think we need to take a close look at them. In the past, many of them have been granted. Every time we add an additional approach to a highway, it does negatively affect the safety. In this case, this one was a little different on Nemo Road. First, it needed to have the non-access easement vacated before a second approach could be granted. Many times, there's not that issue. It's just, there's no access easement on those parcels. The more subdivision that goes on, the more and more requests for access, of course. In this case, there was an access easement already in place for that was there before this latest subdivision. That's why we requested or suggested that be used for this parcel. But ultimately, that's always the commission's decision. This highway was 50 miles an hour in that area with the ADT, or average daily traffic, of 1,681 vehicles. It's quite a bit of traffic. The more accesses we have, the more potential for accidents. So we'll probably see more in the future, the highway department would like some, maybe direction on what to do with these requests, if you guys want to see each one, or if we need to address the ordinance, 14 on that limitation.
And we can bring that up at a meeting in the future if a commissioner would like to move that forward to have direction or discussion on that. But at this point, Mark, the request for today is the approval of the second approach, and what's your opinion on Mr. Griggs' second approach is the bottom line?
Our opinion for the highway department would be that the current access easement on that property should be used, and probably not a second approach issued.
Thank you, sir. Discussion from the board?
We're talking philosophically, but it wouldn't hurt to look at ordinance 14 and maybe put in a provision for, if there's no access easements in place, then what should you, the highway, what should we, the board, do? Should we just go ahead and violate them, or hold real strict to the no access easement?
I appreciate that, Mr. Fairby, but let's put that on the agenda. And I think that's a great discussion. But today are we going to postpone Mr. Briggs indefinitely? Are we going to, what is the motion on the board, or from the board on the second approach?
Make a motion to deny the request for approval.
Motion by Mr. Buskerud. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. LaCroy. Any other discussion? Ms. Cara?
Buskerud,
Aye.
Farabee,
Yes.
LaCroy,
Aye.
Hadcock.
Aye. Motion carries. Mr. Farabee, if you want to put that on the next meeting, I think that's good discussion. Next is 29, approval of the vouchers. Is there a motion?
Move
I'll make a motion to approve the vouchers.
Second.
Moved by Mr. Buskerud, second by Mr. LaCroy. Any discussion? Any discussion?
Yes, I've got to keep voting no. There's items on here that there's no explanation for, and we just spend, and spend some more.
Thank you. Any other discussion? Ms. Carr?
Buskerud,
Aye.
Farabee,
No.
LaCroy,
Aye.
Hadcock.
Aye. Motion carries with 1 no from Ms. Commissioner Farabee. Number 30 is the 2017 legislative session. We have updates on proposed bills, staff direction, and commission positions. Any discussion on A, B, and C from the board? Ms. Hawley, do you have something you'd like to talk about? Okay.
I'm thinking,
Commissioner LaCroy, do you have any legislation that you've been looking at since you've been on the,
I didn't follow up with Holly on some of this, but do we, 1070, with the ones we sent letters out on, all, that was 1074 and 1073, was it,
Ms. Hawley?
remember?
I think both those went down, 179, I think it was,
Okay.
it was a House bill and a Senate bill, as I recall, and I think they both went down.
They're both finished.
Okay.
Well, Commissioner Fairby, you spoke on a couple of those bills. Which bills did you speak on?
The last one was stored CPI,
GPI?
stored, well, unused index factor, and a stored CPI, and that went down.
Okay.
But that was on behalf of yourself, right?
Well, yeah, I didn't speak for, I very clearly said I'm not speaking for the Board of Commissioners, I'm speaking for District 1.
Okay.
1163, you spoke on that, and that went down as well, right?
I believe so, yeah.
Okay. Any other discussion? Mr. Busker, do you have anything from your board of counties that are, need to be updated on in this legislative session?
I have not gotten anything from them. We have a meeting next week, and they will give an update at that time.
Thank you, Commissioner Buskerud. If not, if there's any other discussion,
You know, I got it highlighted, and I guess I need some assistance from Holly on following up on this. And that would be SB 27, that prohibits certain direct conflicts of interest by public officials, provided penalty therefore after, and I haven't done a lot of stuff on that. Maybe after this meeting, I could get with you and discuss that.
Okay.
Thanks.
Thank you, Commissioner LaCroy. No other discussion? Item number 31, items from chair and commission members. Do we have any information we want to share about things from the public or anything that, this would be the time maybe to discuss, Mr. Farabee, on ordinance number 14 that you'd like to move forward? Some of that discussion on there sounds pretty interesting for this board.
Well, my suggestion there was for Mark and Tom to come to us with something. It's their ordinance.
Okay.
And that was my suggestion to them to draft something and bring to us, they can put it on the agenda.
Okay, and maybe with your help, you can kind of tell them
Okay.
what you're thinking, Mr. Farabee. Any other discussion on 31? How about 32?
No, is that commission members? We all got the health, if I may, I got the healthcare analysis, and it looks like we're in pretty doggone decent shape for, and I commend the folks for holding the line on spending on the healthcare stuff. I think that's a good deal, and then on the bad deal is the two roads. And I got some email here that I won't divulge the individual from DOT, but between the highway superintendent and DOT, the Bradsky Road was the primary issue, and it looks like DOT is dragging their feet, and I don't know what we can do, but we need to put pressure on and get that road fixed before snow flies. No, I don't mean the spring snow, I mean this fall snow.
Talking the road or the bridge?
Bradsky Road Bridge.
Bridge.
The road's no good without bridge.
Okay.
So, but that's, looks like we need to put some heat on. I don't know how we do that. And then right along in the same email is the South Rochford Road Bridge, and not even design. It should have been done several years ago.
I agree.
So whatever we can do, as individuals, I've contacted my legislators. It just happens to be that both of the bridges are in District 30. One's in Mark's Commission District, one's in mine, but they just had to both be in District 30. And they're two new people, and maybe they can put some pressure on, but we need to keep the heat on. And if need be, get the press. Get the press, say, this is horrible. We've seen those bridges. At least you've seen the Bradsky Road Bridge, and that's horrible. And yet there's dragging their feet. So whatever we can do to crank them up, I suggest we do. I talk to your legislators, even though it's not in their legislative district. Maybe they can hammer on DOT a little bit. This is ludicrous, just ludicrous.
Thank you, George. Any other from commission members? Okay, how about committee reports? Anybody have committee reports?
I don't have any because I'm not on any.
Actually, Commissioner Farabee, you are on committees. You're saying.
No, all or none.
Can you tell me what all or none means?
Well, I'm restricted from one, so that's either all or none. That's real simple.
Actually, you're not restricted from the Planning Commission. You're just not going to be on the dais. There's a difference between restricted from a committee or a meeting than there is a sitting on the dais. And I think when you're appointed as a commissioner, Commissioner Farabee, those 6 committees are part of your Board of Commissioner process. So that means at this point, anybody that's alternate on there needs to go to all your committee meetings, because you're not going, is that correct?
Oh, could be translated that way, yes.
And at this point, is the board okay with picking up extra meetings from Commissioner Farabee on these committee reports, or these committees? Because I don't mind being a fill-in, but I can tell you, as chair, plus the 6 committees, or 5 committees that I'm on, plus I'm doing some ordinance for us, that's, I'm not retired, and I don't mind helping out in any way. But Commissioner Farabee, you are retired, and I believe it's part of your duty as a commissioner to go to these committees.
My occupational status has nothing to do with the issue at hand.
Say again?
My occupational status has nothing to do with the issue at hand. But
Well, it does with the issue of other people that aren't retired that would be having to fill in for you, sir.
not a relevant argument, but I change the subject just slightly. I will probably go to the weed and pest meeting tomorrow because I think that's required by state law. There's either extension or weed and pest is required by state law, so I'll probably go to represent the board on tomorrow at weed and pest.
Okay. And the commission, we're okay with filling in the blanks for Commissioner Farabee at this point? That's all I need to know as a chair, because I have, was requested to put people on committees, and if one doesn't want to go, is that, because some of them, as Mr. Farabee said, are required, who's going to volunteer to pick up the extra committees at this point? If I could have some volunteers, or maybe I ask Mr. DeSanto, because he's an alternate as well.
Madam Chair.
Commissioner LaCroix.
I guess my question is, if Mr. Farabee's going to this one because it's a voting one, and the ones that are, he's choosing not to go to the ones that he's not a voting member.
No, it's.
Or, I'm talking. I guess I need to know that because, I mean, I'm willing to pick up what I need to help out if he's not gonna go to any of them. But I need to have the notice because I don't want him showing up. If I take the time off from work, which takes me at least 3 hours of lost work to go to a meeting, and then he shows up, I'm gonna be very upset. So if he's not going, then let's do it, figure it out. I'll help out what I can, but, from my understanding, what he just said, he's not going to any of them, but then he turned around and said he was going to one today. But I'm willing to help out any way you guys want to decide that, but I just wanted to make very clear, any one meeting takes away 3 to 4 hours of my work time, minimum, between travel time and the meeting and so forth, and that's at a cost to everybody, so.
Well, what I was saying earlier, Madam Chair, was that there's 4 or 5, by state law, 4 or 5 required boards or committees that we are obligated, and one of them is like Public Defender Board, and I think the other one's either Weed and Pest or Extension, and the other 2, I forget what they are, but I think the Weed and Pest is one they're meeting tomorrow, so I'll go to Weed and Pest tomorrow.
And then you'll no longer want to be on weed and pest after that?
I don't know.
I guess at this point, Mr. Farabee, this is your choice. And I believe it's something this board needs to know and your community needs to know, that you're going to show up for these committees or you're not going to show up. And I guess we can have a conversation off the dais and you can mark which ones you're showing up for or you're not. But I'll keep saying this, I think it's a requirement. As a commissioner, you get paid that $15,000, and I don't think it's just to show up for 2 committees, 2 commission meetings a month. So I think when you signed on, it was for those committees as well. So that's my opinion. That's not the board's opinion. But it does make a damper in some of our schedules to try to fill in your committees. So maybe me and you could have a discussion after the meeting and decide which ones you're going, or if you're all in or all out, and I'll discuss it with the board. But I think the public should also know that, and the committee people, that you won't be showing up for any of the meetings, sir. Any,
Once again, Madam Chair, it's either 4 or 5 that are required by state law that we participate in.
right.
The others are all voluntary. They're all of our own doings, and I bet you go to other counties that don't even have things like this, but thank you.
Well, if we'd like to, I'm all for, if we'd like to have committee report discussions on what 4 or 5 we have to go to, and the other ones, we have a choice, but I can tell you as a chair and a committee person that likes going to committees, that it's important that one of us show up at these committees, and I think it's a request of these committees that there's one of us representing them, so if something does happen in those areas that we made committee assignments for, that we are in the know, and I think it's very important for us to do that as a commissioner.
Madam Chair, I guess I'd ask if Holly could do some research for us to get us those meetings that are required, mandated, and separate them out, which ones that Mr. Farabee's talking about. Or do you know them offhand?
The list is in my office, so
Okay.
I can get that. for you.
I'd be interested in that too, knowing which ones are mandated and which ones are voluntary, so.
So we can move this discussion if you want to the next meeting, if we'd like to discuss it, then maybe I could sit down with Commissioner Farabee. The other thing is, does anybody have any other committee reports from their meetings they have went to in the last few weeks?
I went to the Extension Board meeting last night. That was fairly quick. I mean, there's nothing I can really give you a report on that happened. They actually scheduled it a lot earlier because they're waiting for the budget in May, April, so they rescheduled another meeting for that. Trying to think of some of the other ones that I'd been to. You know, I'm also on I'll give a report, the Collective Impact Guiding Council meeting. Right now, most people notice you notice Mark is gone today. Mark, and I'm very excited that he took the opportunity to go to San Antonio to tour the Haven of Hope, see some progress that's going on, so another commissioner could have the insight. There's nothing like being at the place to be able to see it. They got a fast schedule for them. They're flying in. They got 8-9 hours of meetings, and then they come back and they need to regroup and talk to the people. There's a group of about 15, and then the following day, it's the same thing, then they're flying back. So it's not like these people aren't busy. But, you know, I really want to commend Mark for he giving up having to come to the meeting to go get some insight on what other communities are doing. And I know they're going to bring it back, and they're going to give a report and so forth. So that was I'm on the guiding council. That was one of the meetings that we had, but I just wanted to express to everybody out there to tell them where Mark is.
Thank you, Commissioner.
With that, I think I'm pretty much done.
It's either weed and pest or extension that we're required to be on, and do you remember which one, Holly?
I believe it's both.
Yeah, and it could be. And I know Public Defender's got a board that we need to have to be on, and
And community health and a couple other ones.
community health, no.
Okay.
No, don't even, you can't even vote, you know, and one last thing is like the building committee. How many of the 66 counties have a building committee? No, and that's twice a month? Well, why are we on a building committee? Why do we even have a building committee?
Why do we have any committees, Commissioner Farabee?
Well, that's, my point is, if you say you take time to do them, is there really a purpose, or are you just going to meetings to be going to meetings?
I guess the purpose is for information about your county that you can share with your public from individuals going to these meetings, so the public has that full view from a commissioner and what's happening on those committees. There's some pretty, like building committee, I believe the public does want to know that information, and you just throw it out there and you don't have a committee beforehand and they just bring it forward. There was no discussion. Then we have a problem with people saying there's no discussion. It should have been at a committee to decide this. So what do we want? No discussion on committees? or even like construction permits and things? Do we just move that forward and have the planning commission do it? There's a purpose in us being at these meetings because of that. We are the representation of the public for these committees, to learn and tell the public what we know. It's important.
Madam Chair,
Yes.
I forgot one.
Commissioner Farabee.
I was on the detox meeting last week also, and one of the things that we discussed during the detox meeting was basically the numbers of clients coming through detox. We talked about safe beds. We talked about the new building that they're going to be trying to go into. We were talking about flows of the building and so forth. So there was some good discussion going on, and I know that's one of the discussions that we're going to be continuing to have is the flow for safe bed detox units and so forth. And so that'll be coming later date. Thanks.
Thank you. I do have a couple of things on committee reports. One is construction permits. Thank you, Jesus. We are moving to the next step on that. We are done with them, and thanks to our committee, Ms. Hawley is amazing, helped us a whole lot. And the community of the people in construction and the public, I think we came up with some good discussion and some a ordinance, I think, that probably will have to be tweaked a little bit, but we did some hard work on that and got that done. Number two is mining permits. We're moving to next. We are going to visit Pete Lean, our committee is, and get a full view and all the information, or hopefully a lot of the information to move forward on those mining permits for the future, because we did, as a commission, separate those. So I'm excited to learn more about mines. I've learned a whole lot about construction permits and how we do them in the county, and it was great information, and it's something that you don't only learn about construction permits, you learn about erosion and sediment control and storm water, and hopefully with those permits, we made them more accessible for the public to understand and for our commission to move forward in a positive way to help the public on their small scale and large scale stuff in the construction permit. So thank you for giving me that opportunity, board, to learn that. And again, thank you to Holly and all the information she looks up for us and keeps us on track. She does all the emailing. I don't think I could do it without Holly. I don't think our committee could have done it without Holly. So we really appreciate everything from the committee and Miss Holly. So anybody else would like to share any information on their committees? Not, let's move on to items from the public. Ms. Joyce.
Joyce Shagru, public member. I didn't come here with a planned speech. I'm pleased that you're talking about input from the public. And I know that your viewpoint up there from where you are is unique, looking at us out in the audience. Also from the back row, it's unique. And today we had a couple of instances where the public didn't feel they were being asked to present. Okay, that's not the first time this has happened, as you know. And I know I don't have total credibility because I'm not here at every meeting. And what I say is I don't come just for entertainment. So you know when I'm here, I'm very specifically interested in an agenda item. And my viewpoint from the back is that most of the people that come are interested in one item. Okay, they do not see the entire picture of what goes on. I sat through the whole meeting for a purpose. And today, when that happened, and it's not the first time, and I understand the complexity of what Commissioner Hadcock has to do and to keep track of what's going on. And that's not an easy task, and she's doing a great job. And I want to compliment her on that. What my experience is from the back row is that people are not assertive. They are interested in only their agenda item, They've not been here many, many meetings like I have. They're not assertive. They don't know what power they really have, that they can get up so that you recognize them. They sit there from the back, I can sense, like the gentleman that was next to me, he wanted to speak, but he didn't know what to do. And a couple of times I have absolutely intervened. I did with Lindell, where he missed a group and I knew they were leaving angry, that they thought he was doing it on purpose, which is never the intent. But that's the feeling they were leaving with, and they were my neighbors. It happened to be something from my development, and I did not want that to happen because I knew he wasn't leaving them out on purpose. So I intervened, and actually then he went back, had them speak. They weren't happy because the decision wasn't the way they wanted it to go, but at least they got to speak their piece. So what I would ask is that, and the reason I'm not just talking to Deb about this is help her, okay? Help her. She isn't always going to know who's sitting out there. It's not on her list. People just don't say, I'm going to get up and speak. I generally do. And it's planning commission meeting things, and PJ knows. Like today I asked him, do I need to say anything? And actually, I sensed how the vote was going to go, so I did not get up. There really wasn't much time for me. I would have had to have been assertive and stood, which I would, of course, have done. So pay particular attention. You all are the most tuned into your public of anybody in the room. These folks mean something to you. So you don't want them to leave thinking that you did not want them to talk. So help her, is what I'm saying, is be tuned in to folks out there. If she misses that step in the procedure, remind her. You know, I don't feel that I'm going to stand up and say, Commissioner Hadcock, you missed speaking from the public. I just am not going to do that. But help her so that that doesn't happen. Because if they leave and they wanted to talk and they didn't get a chance, they're going to leave angry or disappointed. So that was my point today. And I'm encouraged whenever you're talking about the public, and you do represent us, and you need to be where you need to be. To represent us. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Shagru. And I apologize because I should have, when I saw those, that item, we usually ask, commissioners either ask a question or I do of the applicants, and I think that's where we kind of missed it a little bit, but I apologize. We don't usually do that as a board. I don't think we've done that before, but we also had an agenda at one time trying to figure out how to make sure we don't miss people, and we were trying to do that. So we'll just be more cognizant of that and see if we can keep running it the way we are. If not, maybe we can make a few changes for the public to make sure we don't miss anybody when we're asking questions or otherwise. So thank you, Ms. Shagru.
Our point's very well taken, and we're all responsible, Joyce. You're right. It's not just the chair. We all need to. We all need to look for raised hands, and I'd almost put a sign on right on there. Ask the public. Just put a big sign. Just as a reminder. Oh, I'm serious.
Yeah, it's not
I'm serious.
We usually do, George.
Or right there. Well, whatever. Yeah.
We
Yeah.
usually do because we're usually
Yeah, I know,
asking questions.
Yeah.
But today was just one of those weird things that I just went, okay.
We're all guilty. We know we all need to pay attention and.
Thank you, George. We are in executive session. We need a motion. We're not in. We need a motion for executive session, please.
I'd make a motion to go into executive session for personal issues, SDCL 1-25-2/1, B, contractual pending litigation per SDACL 1-25-2/3.
Do we need personnel issue? Nope. Okay.
Don't need that in there? Well, I'll strike that then.
Okay, there've been a motion for contractual pending litigation per SDCL 1-25-2.
Second.
3. Motion by LaCroy, second by Mr. Buskerud. All in, roll call, please.
Buskerud?
Aye.
Farabee?
Yes.
LaCroy?
Yes.
Hadcock?
Yes, motion carries. Roll call.
Are you getting Ron back?
Yep.
Okay.
Oh, I hear him.
Buskard.
Aye.
Farabee.
Yes.
Roy,
Aye.
Adcock.
Aye. Motion carries. Jake?
Thank you. Coming out of executive session, I'd like you to entertain the following motion. To appeal to the Supreme Court the judgment entered on February 16, 2017 in the matter of Kroll Ready Mix, Inc. versus Pennington County Board of Commissioners.
So moved.
Motion by Mr. LaCroy,
Second.
second by Mr. Buschard. Any discussion? Roll call, please, Ms. Holly?
Buschard,
Aye.
Farabee,
Yes.
LaCroy,
Aye.
Adcock.
Aye. Motion carries.
Thank you.
Move to adjourn.
Moved by Mr. LaCroy to adjourn. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Farabee. Any other discussion? Not? We're adjourned.
Buschard,
Roll call.
Yes.
LaCroy,
Aye.
Adcock.
Okay, Ms. Holly. We're adjourned. Motion
Thank you.
carries. Thank you, Ms. Holly.